Yeah, on case number 97 on the calendar in the matter of Haney versus Parson. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated. Folks, have a seat.
Mr. Haney, the defendant, according to you, was a friend of yours. You allowed her to move into your home on a couple of occasions with her children when she was in some financial distress. You claim now that she owes you for a variety of things, some old loan, rent, utilities.
Correct.
Ms. Parsons says there was never an agreement for her to pay you anything. You are angry over two things. You are angry that she rejected your advances. She was not interested in you in a social way, and that bothered you. And second, you are angry because she reported you to the authorities for abusing one of her children. How long do you know her?
I've known her for about 7 years. We dated. A girl I was dating at one time lived in the same neighborhood that she did, same apartment complex. Me and the other girl broke up. Her and I talked. We went our separate ways. We didn't see each other for about 5 years. And one night at a nightclub, run into her. Then we started talking, and next thing you know, we were dating.
And when was that, sir?
I'd say roughly in the neighborhood about February a year ago.
So why don't you tell me about first the loans and then the arrangement with regard to rent and utilities?
She was calling several times, telling me that she had made a mistake, that she felt that she left me to go with this other guy that dumped her in Ohio.
Are you going to tell me about the loan?
Yes. That's where we're going to.
Let's get there.
She called me up needing money. Her kids needed school supplies for school.
When was this, sir?
Last year, before school. Her and her boyfriend agreed they would pay it back as soon as they can.
So how much did you give them at that time?
I gave them $100.
And then tell me about the rest of your lawsuit involving the rent and utilities.
Well, she left with him, went to Ohio. He threw her out. She came back to Charleston.
When?
February 15th. She asked me could she move back in. I said, okay. Are we talking boyfriend, girlfriend, or you want in a room? She said, well, what's the difference? I said, well, I'm not going to charge my girlfriend to live with me, you know? That's kind of stupid. And she said, oh, I see. If I sleep with you, then I don't have to pay. I said, no, it's not like that either. You know, if you're in a relationship, you know, you were helping before. There's no sense in, you know, I'm paying all this and you just lay around and do nothing. And she said, no, I just want the rooms. I said, fine. I rented the U-Haul to go get her stuff from Myrtle Beach, gas. Every time I turn around, she would, can I borrow $20 for this? Can I borrow $10 for that? I need cigarettes. I need gas. I want to rent a movie. There was no sexual advances to her in any way.
When did she move out, sir?
April the 29th, I evicted her.
Why?
Because she wasn't paying me any money.
Did you have a discussion with her?
Yes.
Tell me about the discussion you had with her.
She simply said she didn't have the money. I said, Tanya, you got a job. I helped you get a job.
Well, what kind of work did you get for her, sir?
She was a cashier.
Where?
At Speedway, well, Conoco, whatever they call it now, and they changed the name.
Did you know how much she was making?
About $100 a week.
And how much of the $100 a week did you expect her to give you, Mr. Haney?
I told her, even if it was $5 a week.
You wanted to see something, $5
right.
a week.
Make an effort.
Okay, so you wanted her to give you $5 a week.
Correct.
Okay, for the 12 weeks that she was living there.
Correct.
Okay, fine.
Now.
And she didn't, so then you threw her out.
No. She had $1,000 coming to her for back child support. She kept telling me, as soon as that gets here, I will pay you up, get you caught up.
Get you caught up with what?
What she owed me.
Well, what did she owe you?
The loans.
So there's only one loan of $100 that was a year before, sir. That's all the loans that I'm hearing
Correct.
about.
But the dollar here, 20.
Charlie, I'm not, listen, my parents didn't send me to law school and college and post-law school for 10 years to talk about the dollar here and the $2 there. That's gone. It's in the wind. Do you understand? What else?
Here's a list of every time she borrowed money from me. I wrote it down.
Listen.
She knew it.
Listen to me. You think that I believe that list that you just filled out? Do you think, Mr. Haney, that I believe that every time you gave her $5, you went over to a book and filled out $5, Tanya, for cigarettes? You think that I believe that? You think that my father raised an idiot?
No.
Good. Then let us move on, sir. Let us move on, sir.
Okay. I went and had an eviction notice signed on her
And you say it's because she did not...
Owes me rent.
Rent, because she did not pay you rent.
Did not pay me rent.
Okay, now...
Didn't pay me for fixing her car.
Okay.
Buying the shoes.
All right, Miss Parson, now I would like you to tell me, madam, I want you to tell me about what happened on the 29th of April or immediately preceding the 29th of April.
When he got me this job at Sunoco gas station, he agreed that he volunteered to watch my children for me while I was at work because I worked third shift. And my son is 6 years old. He has a bedwetting problem. He called me one morning at work and asked me to bring home a small brown bag to mail off cigarettes to somebody, and in the same conversation told me that he had spanked my son for bedwetting. He had done it 3 times in that night, and he spanked him twice out of the 3 times.
Is that the corporal punishment that you're talking about, the spanking?
He also put him in a tub filled with cold water.
Why do you think that that's an appropriate thing to do, sir?
For one, he didn't wet the bed 1 time that night. Yeah. He did it 3 times.
Do you think that he did it on purpose, sir?
I don't know. Just like I told him...
Just a second. If you don't know why he wet the bed, that means that you don't know whether he suffered from some sort of a psychiatric disability or a physical disability. You had no idea.
No, but at the same time, the first time he wet the bed, nothing was done. Because he got up in the middle of the night, changed his own clothes, got back in bed, and urinated again.
What does that tell you, Mr. Genius? What does that tell you, Mr. Genius? Did that tell you that the 6-year-old was maybe perhaps embarrassed?
Well, you know...
Well, what?
We have gone... him and I have talked about it. Logan, what's wrong? You know, is there something wrong? No, I'm just lazy. Because he has her...
I want to ask you a question. Did you get your degree in psychology from an accredited university?
No, I did not.
Did you take any parenting classes before you decided that this was an appropriate way to treat a 6-year-old bedwetter?
No.
Do you have any children of your own?
Oh, yeah.
How many?
I have 2.
How many did you raise?
My daughter comes with me every weekend.
How many did you raise?
None.
Mr. Haney, it is inappropriate for you to physically discipline anyone else's children in the first place. In the second place, until you understand what all the problems might be with a child that causes them to bedwet, the very idea that you would resort to physical punishment suggests to me that you're missing one of the cans of a 6-pack. Do you understand me, sir?
Oh, yeah.
Now, did you report this to any authority?
The cops were called out. I called the cops out to the house. And
when?
Probably about a week or so later.
Why?
Because of the disagreement me and him were having.
Disagreement about what?
He was threatening to kick me out.
Let me explain something to you, Miss Parson. I believe you probably understand that Mr. Haney had some feeling for you. Correct? Right?
Before I moved in, it was understood.
That's not what I asked you. You're a young, attractive girl, and he's an older fool. And I believe that you needed him. You used him.
No,
of course you did. You used him.
I did not use him.
Of course you did.
Everything was on the table before I even moved in.
But he wasn't using you. He let you move into his house. You weren't paying rent. He was babysitting for your children. How do you say that I wasn't using him? You were. You were using him, and you were using him because, Miss Parson, you understood that he had feelings for you. That's why it was very important to you to have your agreement with him before you moved in that this is strictly platonic.
No, Your Honor.
Oh, Miss Parson. Oh, yes, my dear.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And later today...
You stayed on the property?
Yes, ma'am.
Alone?
Yes, ma'am.
The gentleman sitting next to her over there was the one that was moving in.
He never lived there, Your Honor.
Your Honor.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Dwayne Haney says his ex-girlfriend Tanya Parson owes for rent and a loan. Tanya says Dwayne threw her 6-year-old son into a cold bath after he wet the bed.
Listen, you chose him because he's better than a shelter. give you a room. He's going to babysit for your kids. You got food. You got everything that you need. And the reason he did it was because he had feelings for you. Isn't that right? Mr. Haney, look at my face.
Yes.
Isn't that right, sir?
Oh, yeah.
Now, when you met her 5 years ago, were you attracted to her?
Yeah.
And at that time, you were 39 and she was 20.
Correct.
Is that right?
That's about right.
That's not a good match, Mr. Haney.
I understand that, but...
So you know what happens when an old guy wants to go out with a young girl? Costs some money.
Well...
And in your case, you know how much it cost you? $160. It's a bargain. It's a cheap lesson, Mr. Haney. Truth of the matter is, you were looking for something more. Mr. Haney, look here, sir.
I'm looking.
You were looking for something more. Unfortunately, it didn't happen. That doesn't let you come to court like a crybaby and say, now I want all the money for cigarettes and gas I gave her over the 3 months that she lived with me, and this $100 I gave her for school supplies a year ago, because I guarantee you this, Mr. Haney. Had Miss Parson decided to come across and move into your room, you would have forgiven the $100 loan and all the $5 cigarettes and gas. But the fact that she rejected you, and the fact that she ultimately decided, well, I'm going to even make it a little bit more difficult for him. He spanked my kid and he shouldn't have done that, which, by the way, you shouldn't have done. That doesn't make a lawsuit. That makes a bad relationship. So, Mr. Haney, this relationship didn't cost you a fortune, sir. It cost you a couple of $100 and a good lesson. Find somebody age appropriate. Your lawsuit's dismissed. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
It wasn't what the way the judge put it out to be, that I just wanted to sleep with the girl. No, I didn't.
It was agreed upon when I moved in there that it was going to be strictly platonic.
I felt sorry for her because of her kids. I gave her a place to stay. She agreed to pay me the $200 a month.
Once I got in there and he was asking me where was I going, who was I with, why was I with this person, why was I doing what I was doing, and I told him that that was none of his business, it continued to go downhill.
The judge ruled, that's it, end the case.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Collins versus Collins. Step forward, please.
Store manager Angela Collins is suing her ex-husband, construction worker Jack Collins, for his share of foreclosure fees. Jack says it was Angela's fault the trailer was repossessed.
Miss Collins, this is your former husband.
Yes, ma'am.
You claim that he owes you $750 because you were forced to pay certain assessments on a home that you jointly owned before the divorce.
Yes, ma'am.
And that you were forced to settle with the whatever company recently. You had no knowledge prior to the divorce that this was going to be a problem, and you feel as if it's only fair for him to pay his fair share.
Yes, ma'am.
And he says it was your house, deal with it. Right?
Yes, ma'am.
When were you married?
In 98,
1998. And when were you divorced?
2002,
And when did you separate?
probably about 2000.
Who lived in the home?
Me and him and our 2 children.
How old are your children?
They're 11 and 12.
See from the papers that the children don't live with either one of you. Is that right?
You're right. They live with my mother.
Why?
She adopted them.
Why?
Because she couldn't handle them. She didn't want me to have them, and she didn't want them, so that's why she
Stop tapping.
tried to sign. She wanted to sign adoption, wanted me, pretty much forced me into signing adoption papers over to her mother for financial reasons, and it just didn't make no sense. She didn't want me to have custody of children, but she didn't want custody of children, and they didn't want me to see them. I still don't see my children.
Then that's what happens when you sign away your legal rights to the children. Okay, so you separated in 98, and you stayed in the property.
Yeah.
Is that right?
From February to May.
Alone?
Yes, ma'am.
The
Are
gentleman,
you sure? Are you sure about that?
I'm
the
positive.
gentleman sitting next to her over there was the one that was moving in.
He
That's
never
my
lived there,
second
Your
cousin,
Honor.
Your Honor.
When I started seeing him and his mama kept coming there and they wouldn't leave, and that's the reason I ended up moving out. We was just dating, Your
That's a
Honor.
lie.
You say he was in and out of jail for burglary and drug use. I stayed in our manufactured home that was on his parents' property and continued on my life with a new spouse.
No, we was not married. We're still not married. We was just seeing each other, and he never lived there.
Did he stay there?
No, ma'am.
Did he come to visit?
Yes, ma'am.
Did he stay over occasionally?
Yes, ma'am.
Of course he did. All right. So, did you pay the mortgage during the whole time you were living there?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, what happened in May?
Him and his mother kept coming over, and they kept kicking in the front door, and then he got real, he got upset because I was seeing him, and they kept showing their butt. He tried to run me off the road, and they kept kicking in the front door, so I just moved out.
Why didn't you take the trailer with you?
I didn't have nowhere to take it to.
So you just left it?
Yeah.
When he left, did he say to you, this is your problem, this is your trailer?
No, actually, he said him and his father was going to move into the trailer and keep the trailer.
But what happened to the trailer? It got repossessed?
Yes,
Got
ma'am.
repossessed with half my stuff in it, Your Honor.
Did you pay them this $1,500?
Yes, ma'am.
Let
Here's
me
the
see.
receipt right here.
Okay. I'll hear you, Mr. Collins. Why shouldn't you be charged for half of this?
Your Honor, I told her whenever I left there, I had went and bought another car. I loaded all my stuff up in a small car. And I told her, I said, as long as you have my children, you can stay on this property as long as you want. And I'll help you pay the note on the trailer as long as my kids are living there. But whenever he moves in, y'all all need to move out. You understand what I mean? I'm not going to sit there and support him and her. So when she decided that I wasn't going to be that dummy and support him and her, then she just left.
How old are you?
30.
You're a big boy. If you buy something from a bank and you take out a mortgage, what you do when you divorce is you make sure that when you get a divorce, all the loose ends are wrapped up. They moved out. They left the trailer on your mother's property. What happened to it?
The repossessors, they were supposed to pay us storage fee for even having the trailer.
What happened to the trailer?
They come repossessed it.
When?
I don't even know.
I don't know.
I moved.
I don't know. I don't know what my name is after this case. Listen to me. You owe her half the money. I mean, certainly when they've written off $10,000 worth of mortgage fees, neither one of you are going to get star credit ratings, but at least you're not going to have judgments against you, and at least under these circumstances, you're not going to have your income tax return if you have any refund taken, or they're not going to come and detach your driver's license. They can't take your children because you've already given them away. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $750. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out. 43 on the calendar in the matter of Hughes versus Farrar. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Ladies, have a seat, please.
Miss Hughes, you were a tenant in an apartment complex that was managed by the defendant.
Correct.
And it is your claim that he assaulted you.
Yes.
Mr. Farrar says that you was served with an eviction notice, and you, in fact, assaulted him and one of his employees. He is counterclaiming. How long had you been living in this complex?
I lived in that complex for approximately 2 years and about 4 months.
And who did you live with?
A roommate of mine.
When did Mr. Farrar come to work at the complex?
December 19th of 03, and the incident with Mr. Farrar and me happened on January 23rd of 04.
So describe the incident, please.
I was walking out of my apartment on January 23rd, and Mr. Farrar, I noticed that a balled up piece of paper hit me in the back. I turned around, and I seen him along with one of his witnesses over there.
Which one?
Mrs. Farrar. Now, they said they're separated.
Who was Mrs. Farrar?
That's the first one there.
Okay.
Okay, and I turned around, and I said, did you throw that paper at me? You're so childish. And he followed me into the underground parking lot, antagonizing me, distorting me, saying a lot of different things to me. I can't wait till you get out of here. You know, he started to say, I have a recorder in my pocket. I'm going to try to get you arrested, you know. So I kind of rushed and got in my car. I was very afraid of this man. I couldn't even leave anywhere. I was so distraught. I went back into my house once I knew they were out of the underground parking lot.
So you were sitting in your car, and then you decided not to go out anymore, and you went back up to your apartment.
Yes, to go tell my roommate what happened.
Go ahead.
I went to go walk my dog. A lady out of the office came out and said, are you supposed to be walking your dog up front? What are you doing up here? And 5 minutes later, out of nowhere, this gentleman came and placed me into this chokehold.
You mean he just came out of nowhere?
He came out of nowhere. I did not see him coming. That's the whole thing about it. I didn't have an opportunity to even touch him with my pinky if I wanted to.
Okay, so he came up from behind you.
He came up from, yes, from the
Came up from behind you and placed you in a chokehold.
Yes.
And what happened next?
Ma'am, he had me so tight. I was in and out of consciousness. I remember being slammed onto the floor. I remember that woman right there, Mrs. Farrar, kicking my keys, kicking my shoes because my shoes fell off. And he's screaming penal codes, telling her to go call the police. She needs to get arrested for this or that and the other. And
What kind of documentation do you have, Miss Hughes?
I have the pictures with my assault bruises that I had. I have my.
I'd like to
I went
see
to the
those.
emergency room, and I have.
I'd like to see everything that you have.
Okay.
Gotcha. Now, you are not still living at the complex, is
No,
that
I'm
right?
not.
When did you move?
3 days after that incident on 123.
Had you been previously served with an eviction notice?
Yes.
When?
November, the beginning of November.
November of 2003.
Yes.
Prior to him beginning employment there, you were served with an eviction notice for what?
Payment due.
You had not paid rent.
Correct.
How long had you not paid rent?
It was 2 months, actually.
Any reason why you didn't pay rent?
Well, my roommate could not come up with her half. Her mother just died. She was going through a lot of financial problems, and I could not fork her half of the rent.
So you didn't pay anything?
No, they would not accept any partial payments, ma'am.
Well, you could have paid if in October you didn't pay your half. In November, you could have paid your half of November and your half of October. That would have been a whole month.
Yeah, that's true.
So you decided if your roommate couldn't pay anything, you weren't going to pay anything either. Is that right?
Basically.
Basically. Okay. All right, Mr. Farrar, let me hear your version of these events, sir.
Well, she's right. We did go down into the garage, and I was with Norma.
Who's Norma?
Norma's my former wife and now an employee. We were married 20 years ago. And I already had an altercation with her about a week before that.
What kind of an altercation?
About 8 policemen were coming out of her apartment, and I went over to the apartment to find out what had happened. And she lit a cigarette. She said, "It's none of your business," and threw it in my face. And then her roommate pulled her back in and
That's
shut the
such
door.
a lie.
Don't speak. Don't
Pulled her
speak.
back in and shut the door. So I checked with some of the fellows in the police department to find out what had been going on in that apartment, and I found out that there was a numerous calls there, something like 41 calls in 2 years.
You have the
Yes, I
log
do.
of those calls?
I do. I have
What
some
were
of
the
them.
calls for, Miss Hughes?
Oh, I'd like to see him myself, ma'am.
Yeah.
I'd like to see him myself the day that he's talking about.
No, I'm
the day
not
the police
talking
did
about-
come.
And
My
there's her,
8-year-old
there's
daughter
her-
called the police
Listen
by
to me, Miss
accident.
Hughes. I didn't
But I
ask
like
you-
to. I like a
I
lot of
didn't-
the 41 calls.
I didn't ask you about the day. I said I'm just asking you whether...
One of them involved weapons.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Who wouldn't know the truth if it came up and bit you in the behind? You're not going to take advantage of the judicial system by seeking redress in the court for something that your bad behavior started.
And later today,
What is it that you did to your son when you found out that he stole this phone?
I whooped him.
Did you ever steal anything before?
Yes, ma'am.
What?
Car.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Andrea Hughes claims she was assaulted by her former landlord, James Farrar. James says Andrea is looking for a free ride.
There are a lot of calls here to your apartment, madam.
You know, I personally have seen the police at my house
Okay.
twice.
Good. Okay, that's all. Would you please tell me what happened on January 23rd, 04, sir? You and your wife followed her down to the garage for any particular ex-wife, for any particular reason?
Yeah, I was going down there to look at some work being done on the elevators. We had the elevators remodeled. They were in bad shape. And her car was to the right. I was going to the left. She got in the car and she opened the trunk, or she got to the trunk area, opened the trunk, and started throwing stuff out into the garage area. And then, of course, there was a lot of bad, blistering language going on at the time in reference to my previous marriage with Norma. She got in her car and peeled out, went out the gate. That's the last I saw of her. So I finished checking on the work, went back up to the
Once
office
again, that's a
area.
lie.
Listen to me. I don't want you to say anything.
Wow.
I went back over to the other garage where the manager at that time, Stellar On, was were waiting for her to come. So Stellar pulls in, maybe 10 minutes after she left, not even that. So we left, went back to the office area, and there she was with a dog. And the dog was urinating on the planter at the time. She was smoking a cigarette and had the door open. That day, she had a TRO dropped by Stellar On.
Who's Stellar On?
She was the existing manager at the time.
So the existing manager of the building had a restraining order against Miss Hughes?
Yes.
May I see a copy of it, please?
I don't have it because they dropped it because she couldn't articulate.
They dropped it twice.
But I do have 2 restraining orders on tenants
They
at the
dropped it
building.
twice.
Yeah, I see them, please.
Sure. These are people she assaulted during her tenancy there. These are still enforced, by the way. 2 of my witnesses that couldn't make it today.
I have temporary restraining orders issued. You were the defendant, Miss Hughes. The protected persons are somebody by the name of Sean and Adam.
We had parking issues there in the underground parking.
Okay. Shh. I just asked you.
Yes,
question.
correct.
Okay, go ahead, Mr. Farrar.
Anyways, I came back and she was talking to Stellar at the time at first, and Stellar told her to put her dog on a leash. And she said, with a cigarette right at Stellar, I don't have to do any damn thing I don't want to do. And I'm going to leave out the profanity as best I can. But it would have blistered the doggone walls of this room. It's that bad. So I asked her, please leave the area, go to your apartment. We had mothers and children.
Whatever.
Coming.
You told her
Okay.
to get out, and I wouldn't.
Yeah, I did.
Okay.
I told her to
get
go
out.
back to her apartment and get out of there. So
Go ahead.
3 or 4
Keep going.
times. Finally, she said she wasn't going to leave, and I placed her under citizen's arrest for 415 PC, which is disturbance of peace.
Okay.
I told Stellar to call the Torrance Police Department and have them roll.
And?
At that point, I'm standing here, she's standing there, the office corner is here, Norma's here, and Stellar's looking around the corner. She tried to step around me going towards the direction of the 2 managers. I did what I instinctively been trained to do. I stood in her way. And when I did, her body went into me.
They didn't train you to put a chokehold on someone,
Hughes,
sir, and
Miss
take them to
Hughes,
the ground.
Miss Hughes.
That's not what the police department
Miss
trains
Hughes.
you to do.
Do you see how quiet he was when you were speaking?
He was thinking of his lies very good.
Madam, you wouldn't know the truth if it came up and slapped you in the face. You got a bad temper, Miss Hughes. Everybody who has contact with you seems to have a problem with you, and you have no problem with anybody. You had no problem with the prior building managers. You have no problem with the tenants.
I know I had
No,
never
you have
had
any problem?
problems.
And you had no problem paying your rent, and you had no problem living like a good tenant. You had no problem at all.
Me paying my rent doesn't have anything to do with me physically getting harmed, ma'am.
Oh, yes, it does, madam. Yes, it does. There's a certain entitlement that one thinks that one has when you believe that you can take property, take things that don't belong to you without payment, like a place to live, and say, sue me. Go ahead. It's going to take you 3-4 months to get me out of this apartment. Meanwhile, I'm going to stay here and I'm going to make a big, fat pain in the for myself, which is exactly what you did. Exactly. Because when you were telling me your side of the story, I was listening. I was perfectly prepared to listen to you and to say maybe this man overextended, maybe this man who was a former police officer or a peace officer got a little carried away with himself. But I was watching you testify, and you wouldn't know the truth if it came up and bit you in the behind. And I want to tell you something. You're not going to take advantage of the judicial system by seeking redress in the court for something that your bad behavior started. So your lawsuit's dismissed. Now, I'm going to get to your counterclaim. But for the fact that she filed this lawsuit, would you be here today?
No.
Good. So
No,
let's say goodbye to each other. She's no longer a tenant, is that right?
That's
Good. Goodbye,
right.
your case is
I
dismissed
want
and your
to be a
counterclaim
tenant.
is withdrawn. Thank you
you,
very much. That's
So great in your lives.
Step
You
out.
are so great. I was a very good tenant. He was the one that just came aboard. I had been there for 2.5 years. If I wasn't a good tenant, I wouldn't have been there that long.
She actually had most of the building in fear, and this is a 90-unit building.
There's no criminal charges against anyone that lived in that household. Rather, there was 100 of 911 phone calls.
She's being sentenced tomorrow morning for a felony, domestic violence, where she took a knife to her roommate.
That man assaulted me, and he knows he assaulted me. He knows he snuck up on me and assaulted me for no reason at all.
It's just a pity that a young woman her age can't control her rage and her anger, that tries to intimidate her way through life, and this is what she's been doing. And Judge Judy saw right through it.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Thomas versus Green. Step forward.
Account manager Lizette Thomas is suing her nephew's uncle, customer service rep Antonio Green Sr., for a $1,700 cell phone bill. Lizette says Antonio's son stole her nephew's phone and gave it to a girl.
No, I'd like these 2 young men to come and stand next to their respective parents, guardians. This is your nephew.
Correct.
And you gave him a cell phone
Yes.
so that he could be in touch with you for emergencies.
Yes.
He lost it.
Correct.
And somehow Mr. Green's son found it. And according to you, Mr. Green's son gave it away.
Yes.
And whoever he gave it away to had a very big mouth. And you got a phone bill for how much?
$1,700.
$1,700. So you want Mr. Green to be responsible for that.
Yes.
Mr. Green says, I didn't use the cell phone. My son didn't use the cell phone. Why should he be responsible?
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
When did your aunt give you the cell phone?
Late July.
And why did she give you the cell phone?
For emergencies.
How long did you have it?
About a month.
Until late August?
Yes.
And what happened to it?
I gave it to my coach. We went to a game, and I asked him to hold it, and I left it with him, and we all left.
So what did you do?
I called him and asked him, did he have it? He said yes. I asked him, could he hold it for me? He said yes.
When did you go and get it from him?
I didn't.
Oh, why not?
Because I thought if I told my parents, they were going to think I was irresponsible.
That doesn't make sense, what you just said to me. Could you get there by bus?
Yes.
So why didn't you run right over and get it?
I wasn't thinking that time.
Right! You weren't thinking. Now, what's your first name?
Antonio.
Antonio, how did you get this phone?
I found it in the coach bag, and I gave it to this girl trying to impress her.
Just, okay. Don't go through. We have to do this slowly because I have to get things step by step. You found it in the coach's bag when?
Around late August, around the 28th, during the 1st of September.
When you say you found it in the coach's bag, what were you doing in the coach's bag?
Just going in it, sneaking around.
So you stole the phone out of the bag.
Right.
And what did you do with it when you stole the phone out of the bag?
I gave it to this girl. At that time, it was my girlfriend.
And what did you say to her?
I gave her the phone, told her she could use it.
So, Mr. Green.
Yes, ma'am.
See, this is something he didn't put in his answer, that he stole the phone.
Well, yes, I knew that he retrieved the phone.
Not retrieved.
Well, stole the phone around November when I got the call from Miss Thomas.
Stole it.
Right.
So what is it that you did to your son when you found out that he stole this phone?
Can I say on air?
Yes.
I whipped him.
How old are you, Antonio?
16.
You go to school?
Yes, ma'am.
How do you do at school?
Good.
Did you ever steal anything before?
Yes, ma'am.
What?
Cars.
How many?
2 of them.
And when you went to court, did your father go with you?
Yes, ma'am.
How many children do you have, Mr. Thomas?
2, ma'am.
How old are they?
He's 16 and my daughter's 15.
Did she give you any trouble?
No.
So what are you doing about Mr. Trouble?
Well, right now he's in rehabilitation programs in the city, doing counseling session, peer mentoring programs appointed by the court, urine drops and things like that.
He had a drug problem?
Yes, they said he did.
If they said he did, he probably did.
Of course, he denied that, but they said he did.
Well, he's right out here telling me everything that he did. That's a good thing, because he probably knows that I know anyway.
Right.
Right?
Right.
So you better get pretty busy, because you owe this lady $1,700.
Yes, ma'am.
You stole the phone, you gave it to somebody, and you lied to them and said, I got you this phone, you can use it. They used it, as you told them to. I mean, the fact that you couldn't get your behind out of your room to get on a bus and go pick up the phone doesn't make you a prince. Do you understand that?
Yes.
But, I mean, it's your stupidity, but he did it on purpose. He stole it. And then he gave it away, and he said, I bought your present, use it. And you shouldn't have to suffer for that. Mr. Green shouldn't have to suffer for that either. What Mr. Green has to do is he has to harness this boy and send him out there to collect cans. 5 cents a piece, if that's all he can do. Because somehow you got to impress upon him that when he does something wrong, the whole world can't suffer. He's got to suffer.
Right.
You have to suffer. You understand?
Yes, ma'am.
Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,700. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out. Yes, this is case number 117 on the calendar in the matter of Pels, Cadell versus Kuhn. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated. Ma'am, have a seat, please.
What's your first name?
Jamie.
And yours?
Margaret?
You're a mother.
Yes.
You're Miss Peltz?
Yes, I am.
Miss Peltz, you gave your daughter $500 in cash because there was an outstanding warrant for her, she thought, for back child support.
Correct.
She has children who are in the custody of who?
The biological father.
She can speak.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, the biological father.
And how many children do you have?
5.
How old are you?
28.
Are all 5 children with the same father?
No, Your Honor.
Where are the 5 children?
When I got pregnant at 13, and I gave birth at 14, and I had 2 children by the age of 16.
Where are those 2 children?
One is with the adoptive father. My other child was murdered when adopted out.
At what age? 2? Okay. How many children are with their father?
3.
And you have a current child support order, is that right?
Yes.
Okay. You fell behind in your child support?
Yes.
Your mother gave you $500 so you could turn yourself in, according to you, and get the warrant lifted. According to your complaint, Mr. Kuhn got possession of this money order and didn't give it back to you. So you want that $500, and you also claim he has your property, clothes, pictures, etc., that he refused to return to you when he kicked you out of the house. You want a total of $1,200 from the defendant. Mr. Kuhn says he never took your $500. You have your $500. That you have a drug problem, that's probably what you used it for. And as far as your property is concerned, he boxed it all up, put it on the porch. He has no idea what happened to it.
That's correct, Your Honor.
Okay. Mr. Kuhn, how old are you, sir?
48, I'm sorry.
So you're 20 years older than Jamie, is that right?
Yes, that's correct.
The 2 of you lived together for a period of time? Uncross your hand, sir.
On and off for 3 years.
Do you work?
Yes, ma'am.
Does she work?
No, ma'am.
Did she work during the 3 years you were together?
Not one day.
So you were taking care of her and supporting her?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Any of her children lived with you at the time?
No, we fought tooth and nail to try to get some of these children back for her, but that was to no avail.
Okay. Tell me, Jamie, about this $500 money order.
My mother gave me $500.
Why?
And I turned it into...
Why?
Oh, I'm sorry. For my child support, there was a bench warrant that was issued, so I had, instead of paying $160, I had to pay $500 to get it dropped.
Why didn't you pay the child support?
I wasn't working at the time.
Why not?
I've had medical problems that have kept me from working.
What
and
kind of
also,
medical problems?
I had severe hemorrhaging that went on for months. Not only that, Mr. Kuhn was also very controlling in our relationship.
None of that's true, Your Honor.
Okay, so let's get back to the $500. Your mother gave you $500 in cash, right? Go ahead.
Yes, ma'am.
Go ahead, I'm listening.
Actually, I had the $500 turned into a money order, which I have the receipt.
Good. I'll take a look at that. So she gave you the $500 in cash. You got a money order. Who told you to get the money order?
I wanted to because I wanted to make sure it went to the child support. I didn't trust Mr. Kuhn because of his drug problem.
Just a second. No, Mr. Kuhn.
I'm sorry, Your Honor.
Okay. And go ahead.
We did go to turn myself in, and they said that they couldn't find any warrants on me, that I would have to go over to city. It wasn't a matter that I could take care of at that point. It was a Friday, so I wanted to contact my attorney the following Monday to find out what I needed to do to resolve the matter. I ended up going out of town with Mr. Kuhn to Fredonia. He had some work out there to do, and the $500 money order went with us both.
Yes.
Upon coming home from Fredonia...
Which was when?
The Friday following.
So you were there for a week?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Go ahead.
When we had returned home, actually it was Mother's Day. I had run some errands and came home with dinner, and since I wouldn't make his dinner plate, he proceeded to tear up the house and throw objects at me.
Not true, Your Honor.
I'm going to get to you, sir. Uncross your hands. Go ahead.
Upon that, I called my mother to come pick me up because I was afraid for my safety. I left all my belongings. I left with the clothes on my back and no shoes or nothing.
And?
From there, we contacted an officer the next day to follow me over so I can try to get my things. Mr. Kuhn had changed the locks. My house key no longer worked. We do know he was home. He would not answer the door.
I'm still not hearing about the $500 money order.
Mr. Kuhn was in possession of it. He told me he would not let me have it, that he didn't trust me, that he would return it to my mother.
When did he tell that to you?
We had a huge fight in Fredonia, and I asked for it back.
What was the fight about in Fredonia?
I do not recall what the fight was about.
Do you recall?
Yes, ma'am, I do.
Want to tell me about it?
The fight in Fredonia was about the fact that she wanted to cash the money order and spend it to buy pills from a friend.
What kind of pills?
Lortabs in specific.
What are they for?
They are painkiller. They're Lortabs, Oxycontins. This has been a prevalent problem throughout the entire relationship.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Listen to me. If you don't want to be controlled by somebody, whether it's this man or your mother, you get your behind out of bed and you go and get a job.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Jamie Cadell says ex-boyfriend John Kuhn stole her money order and won't return her belongings. John says Jamie used the money order to buy drugs.
Okay. You have a drug problem, Jamie?
In the past, I did, yes, Your Honor.
Well, in the past, I mean, you're talking about yesterday, a month ago, 6 months ago?
I've been clean for a month and a half, Your Honor.
Prior to the month and a half, you've had a drug problem. What kind of drugs?
Lortabs and meth, which John actually introduced me into.
But you've been with him for 3 years, according to him. Is that right, off and on?
About that, yes.
But you lost your children way before that. You lost your children as a result.
When I was very young.
You weren't very young. You were 25. According to you, you're 28 years old.
No.
Listen to me carefully. I'm talking about the 3 children that are with their biological father at this point.
Okay.
You visit with them? Is not an answer. Do you visit with them? The answer is either yes or no.
Yes.
When?
Right now, it's been suspended. I'm
Has it been suspended because of your drug use?
Yes.
Yes, Your Honor.
I mean, I was a family court judge, madam. They don't preclude a parent, especially a mother in family court, from seeing her children unless there's a serious problem. So in Fredonia, when you were there with Mr. Kuhn, you had a fight. You said you don't remember what it was about. Mr. Kuhn says that you wanted to buy pills from a friend of his. So if you don't remember what the fight was about, I have to assume that he's telling me the truth.
Your Honor, he needed $50 because he had not gotten paid on his jobs. I told him he could use $50 out of the money order for food for us. He promised to pay me that back when he got paid on this job. It was not for drugs.
Ms. Kuhn, you were not working over the 3-year period, so I assume you were being supported, the two of you, since you were living together somehow. Were you being supported because Mr. Kuhn was working?
Working, but he was also very controlling.
I don't care about controlling. He was working.
Off and on, Your Honor.
And that's how you supported yourself?
Yes, Your Honor.
Oh.
And my mother.
What happened to the $500, sir?
I honestly don't know. The last time I saw the money order was on a Thursday evening in my wallet, and by Friday it was gone.
Where were you with it? Were you in Fredonia at the time?
We were in Fredonia at that time.
Now, you drove back when, sir? On Sunday?
Late Friday evening.
You drove back together?
Yes.
Did you ask her about it?
Yes, I did.
What'd she say?
It was none of my business. It was her money. She could do with it what she wanted to. It's what she
What
told me.
happened on Sunday when you got home?
Saturday, she slept all day, which was something that I was accustomed to. Sunday, about 5 o'clock, she woke up. We had purchased Mother's Day cards for our respective parents, and my mother's in a home. She's disabled. And I told her, my mother's not going anywhere. Get off your butt. Go see your mother. Give her your card. You know, take care of some things. I gave her $25 and told her to bring home some supper, since I obviously wasn't going to get any other way. 4 hours later, she showed up and she was high. She had cold fried chicken, 7 pieces of cold fried chicken, and said that they had cheated her out of the mashed potatoes, corn, or whatever that was supposed to go with it. I had been working at the house. I live on 3 acres, and I had grass to cut. And I was hot and I was tired, and she told me to fix my own damn plate, threw the chicken on the table. At which time I told her she needed to call her mother, because I wasn't going to put up with it any longer. As far as her being in fear of her life, I don't know what that's about. She called her mother, and I told her mother over the phone she needed to come get her daughter, that I was through playing this game.
Did she come and get her?
Yes, she did.
Okay.
She came straight away.
Ms. Peltz, either on Sunday or Monday, did you go to Mr. Kuhn's house to pick up your daughter?
Yes, I did.
Okay. And at what time Don't speak.
It was roughly probably around 5:36 in the evening.
And when you got there, was your daughter inside the house or outside of the house?
She was outside the house.
Where was she outside of the house?
Across the street at a convenience store.
And she got into the car and you left?
Correct.
When was the next time you went back to or telephoned Mr. Kuhn?
The day after we wanted to go get Jamie, my daughter's belongings. When I picked her up, all she had was the clothes on and no shoes. She wanted her court papers and her clothing and her personal belongings, which are pictures of my grandchildren.
Okay, so she wanted her clothing and some photographs.
Yes.
And what happened when you got there?
He wouldn't answer the door.
Okay. Do you have her clothing, sir?
No, ma'am, I do not.
What did you do with it?
They called me repeatedly on Monday, made threats, so on and so forth. On Tuesday the 11th, I called them and I told them about 7:30 at night that I was leaving and I would not be home for an entire 24-hour period, that their clothes
Who
were
did you
setting.
speak to?
I spoke twice to their answering machine because they know my phone number and they never answer the phone when I call. That's just their way they do
you
things.
put her clothes outside.
2 bags of clothes, 3 boxes of court papers that were generated from my computer at my expense anyway, but they were her court papers. Nevertheless, she got them. There was a few pictures, an 8x10 and a little bitty photo album about this big of snapshots. This person here happened to be there when I set the clothes out and made the first phone call.
Oh, really? Step up. Tell me your name.
Linda Gordon.
What were you doing at Mr. Kuhn's home?
I'd gotten off work at 6 o'clock that evening. My boss had asked me to please go talk to him about getting him to come down and do some work on our beach bathrooms.
How do you know him?
I used to be an employee of his years ago, and we then became friends.
Anything more than friends?
No, never.
Tell me about what you saw and heard.
When I'd gotten out there, I went out there, was going to speak with Jamie and John, because I had been visiting with them anyway, and see their new house. I hadn't been out there yet. And when I got there...
So you knew Miss Cadell as well?
Yes. When I got there, John was in the middle of, packing some things up, and I had asked what was going on. He said she was leaving, and he would be more than happy to come in and give that bid, but he had to get this done first. I actually helped him pack some things. And it was approximately 7:30, 8 o'clock or so when he did call and say he had packed them, put them out back in a breezeway, in a little alcove so they wouldn't be bothered by the weather. And I proceeded to go back into Wichita. He said he'd meet me there.
Is there a key that's required to get into the breezeway?
No, ma'am.
No, ma'am.
And you heard him make that phone call?
Yes, ma'am.
Is the breezeway shielded from the street so that you don't see it from the street?
You cannot see anything from the street. It is a garage breezeway behind the house. There's no way it can be seen. Nobody knew the clothes were there except her and I.
Your Honor, I have a PFA against him because of the incident that took place.
Let me see.
This is the second PFA I've had to take out on him,
Yes, the
Your
first one
Honor.
she dismissed. I have evidence here that she dismissed the first one when I paid her child support again.
Your Honor, he's bounced a lot of checks.
What?
I'm sorry. He bounces a lot of checks. He wrote a hot
Listen,
check to her.
Madam, I don't know why somebody who's 48 years old, who is seemingly a responsible guy, who has a job, who has a business, takes up with somebody 20 years his junior who's a drug abuser. I don't know why somebody who's, wrapped tight does that anyway. I think that there's something wrong with him. I don't want you to get me wrong. I think that anybody who does that is looking to control somebody else because that's the symbiotic relationship that you enjoy. You're a drug abuser, unemployed, got 5 kids.
I didn't know she
I'm
was...
speaking. He pays your child support, he takes care of your bills, and he has the ability to say to you, prepare a plate of food for me. Listen to me. That's the dynamics. If you don't want to be controlled by somebody, whether it's this man or your mother or any of the other fathers of your children, what you do is you get your behind out of bed and you go and get a job and support yourself and pay rent and pay food and make a car payment and pay insurance and take care of yourself. I have no sympathy for you, and I have no idea where your $500 is. I have no confidence that he didn't spend it, but I have equally no confidence that she didn't take it out and buy pills. You hearing me?
Yes.
Good.
I have a tracer on that.
Good.
Having it
So, show just a second. If you have a tracer on it, do you have proof?
Okay.
If you have a tracer, do you have proof that he cashed this money order?
No, I've been waiting for it in the mail. No,
Listen,
I don't.
I don't
No, I
care
don't.
what's in the mail. Listen to me very carefully, madam. If you have a tracer and if you're able to show me that he cashed the money order.
It's on that paper.
On which paper?
The very first one that he given you.
Yes. Show me where it says that he cashed it.
No, back behind there is a tracer on the money order, and I'm waiting for the name.
Well, what does that do for me? What does that do for me? I'm the fact finder. The tracer could say she cashed it. The tracer could say he cashed it.
John,
put your hand down. The tracer could say the drug dealer cashed it. It's a money order. It's a blank money order. Do you understand?
I understand
Okay,
that.
so I have no confidence that your daughter didn't take that money order, just like a person who's involved with drugs steals. Do you understand?
I understand, but he has a drug problem.
Listen to me. Listen to me. Listen to me, madam.
I'm listening.
Mr. Kuhn.
I'm sorry, Your Honor. That's
Don't
just
laugh.
hilarious.
Don't laugh. You're irritating me. I mean, as much as she is, you're irritating me.
I'm sorry.
Okay. I don't know where your $500 is, madam. I don't know whether your daughter took it or Mr. Kuhn took it. There is just as likely that she took it and spent it on pills as he took it and did something else with it. Do you understand?
I understand.
Very good. Put your hand down. As far as her property is concerned, I believe this witness that he packed up the property and put it in the breezeway. I believe that he did that. And I don't know who came and got it. I don't know whether she came and got it or you came and got it and you think you're going to put one over on me. I guarantee you're not. Now, you have a counterclaim, sir.
Yes, I do,
Your
Your Honor.
counterclaim is that you voluntarily paid her child support payments.
Correct.
$1,200.
That's right.
That's real nice of you. So why are you bothering me with it now?
Because I was promised that I would be paid back this money, and I can document the fact that I have paid. I have received.
Oh, I believe that you paid, sir. I believe that what you were doing is you were supporting Jamie.
I was keeping her out of jail. She went to jail 5 times.
Listen to me, Mr. Kuhn. All you have to do is say, I'm leaving. Do you understand? Or you're leaving. Do you understand?
I did.
That's all you have to do, which is what you did. But then you can't come to court and sue for money. You paid her child support because you were living together and enjoying her companionship, whatever that was. You don't come to court and sue for it now. Do I make myself clear? You knew she wasn't working. You knew she had no capacity to pay you back.
She was supposed to get a job.
Well, she didn't, and she didn't in 3 years.
That's correct.
Right, good. So your counterclaim's dismissed. It was not a loan. And I have no clue what happened to the $500. Thank you.
You're welcome, Judge. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated.
Miss Keenest, this is your daughter.
Yes, it is.
Does she have any siblings?
Yes, she does.
How many?
2, a brother and a sister. She's the oldest.
Is she a cute baby?
Gorgeous.
Is she a nice baby?
Yeah, very well-mannered.
Must have been, because you had 2 more.
Yeah.
Well, you're not getting along so much anymore, and it is your claim that your daughter owes you the balance of 2 loans. One loan that you made to her several years ago in order to permit her to open up a business. That loan was for $10,000, and she's paid back a substantial part of that loan.
That's correct.
Over the course of the last 3 or 4 years. You were opening a beauty salon, and you were able to do that through the loan from your mom.
Exactly.
The second loan was for $2,000, and that was more recently, and that was to permit her to get an attorney because she was going through a divorce.
Correct.
With regard to that $2,000, your daughter says there was never any discussion of a loan, that you were ecstatic that she was divorcing the husband, and you agreed to help her secure an attorney so that she could
That's not true, Your Honor.
So that she could successfully conclude the divorce process. So let's deal with the first loan. When was that, Ms. Jaworski?
It would have been in August because I bought the business. I took possession
August of what year?
03.
And it was for $10,000?
Yes.
Was there supposed to be interest paid on the loan?
No.
Well, tell me how you were going to make this loan with no interest.
I knew that she had money left over from my grandmother's estate.
Put your hand down. What do you mean left over?
Well, my grandmother didn't take care of things how you're supposed to, and so all of the money that was left out of her estate went to the state for her care. But there was somehow this money left over that the state didn't
How
know
much
about.
money?
I knew of $10,000.
Okay, go ahead.
And so I asked my mom if I could borrow that $10,000 from her because I knew it was in the bank sitting there, and so that there wouldn't be interest or anything on it because we already had the money.
Well, there would be interest on it. If she loans you $10,000, then she's losing the interest on $10,000 for as long as it takes you to pay her back.
There was never any discussion of it.
But you do understand that.
I understand what you're saying, but in my mind, it wasn't that way.
I don't care what
It
was in
just
your
sitting
mind.
there.
What I'm telling you is, if your mother takes the money out of the bank, then she's losing interest on it, so there is a loss. I also don't understand why she should make this loan to you without interest when you have a brother and a sister. Why would she just let you have it all yourself?
Because it was just going to be a loan. It was going to be paid back.
In what period of time?
There was no set period of time, because when you open a business, you never know. Most businesses fail in the first 5 years. And
Well,
so,
what happens if your business failed? You mean you weren't going to pay her back the money?
Well, no, I never intended not to pay her back the money.
But you just said most businesses fail within the first few years. What happens if your business failed?
Well, if my business failed, I would still have to pay her, but it was just to help me out. It was my mom helping me out. It was family helping family out.
But she didn't take that money out of the bank.
At the last minute, she had decided that she was going to pull it off of a credit card because she was nervous about the state finding out that she still had that money.
You mean she didn't think that they would find out about it if she kept it in the bank? Go ahead. Keep going. Keep going. I'm listening to the story. So she wanted to take it off of her credit card rather than take it out of the bank because she was afraid that the state would find out.
Well, she was worried that
Go
they
ahead.
would find out and then she wouldn't have the money sitting there.
Keep going.
No, that's really what happened.
Keep going.
And so at the last minute, she decided to pull it off of her credit card because it was zero interest. And either way, it wouldn't matter. There was
Zero
no
interest for how long? Forever?
I don't know.
What do you mean you don't know? You're in business. You don't have zero interest forever, maybe for a year or two, but not forever.
I never saw any of the credit card information. I have no idea, to tell you the truth.
Well, let's understand this. You knew at the time that you accepted this loan that it was coming off of a credit card. Is that right, Ms. Jaworski?
At the last minute, yes.
I don't care if it's the last minute or the last second. You always could say no.
I know, but I'd already given
Listen to me. You always could say no.
Mm-hmm. And then if I had...
Who cares what happens if you had? If you had, you go to work in somebody else's beauty parlor. Now, there was zero interest. And as a business person, you know that zero interest isn't forever. It's for a fixed period of time, which was for how long?
2 years.
That brings us up to 2005. As of August 2005, how much money did you give her?
I haven't split it out. These are just the statements that I have until then.
Well,
I didn't add that up.
I don't do that. Math wasn't my strong suit.
Me either.
You either? Then you
No.
shouldn't be in business. But if you didn't pay her back in the 2-year period of time when there was zero interest on the credit card, you owe her whatever the interest is. End of discussion. Now, how much is on the credit card?
On the credit.
Not with the $2,000 for the lawyer. I'm not dealing with that yet.
Well, it was all on one credit card, and the balance due on it when she stopped making the payment was $4,995.
Show me.
Ma'am, before you roll, can I say something else?
Well, this is not the last one. That's after I've made a payment, but
Can I see that bird, please?
I've made like the last 6 or 7 payments on it.
Now, you wanted to say something, Ms. Jaworski?
I do, because the interest situation. She had said when we put it on that credit card that if the interest came due, that she would either take the money out of the estate and put it back on there. So I would never, the agreement was never any interest. It really wasn't.
Listen to me. You knew at the time she was taking out an interest-free loan for 2 years in order to cover this loan that she was making for you. You had 2 years to pay her back. You didn't. Then interest develops, and whether she takes the money out of the bank and loses interest, you still have to pay. Now tell me about the $2,000 for the lawyer.
When we were going through the divorce, or when Chris
When
met,
was that?
that would have been in 2000, I believe, 5.
Now, by 2005, we were starting to get some interest on this loan.
Okay.
Keep going.
Okay, well, so then we're going through our divorce, and I didn't have the money to retain a lawyer. At first, we were just going to do it ourselves. And I was telling her that he was going to try to get custody of the children from me, and that I needed to retain a lawyer. And what I don't understand is she hated...
Just don't tell me anything other than what happened. Not what you don't understand, not what you do understand, not interested in what you understood. Tell me what happened.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
She's seeing my ex-husband.
That's not true. I'm seeing my grandchildren.
She's been seeing her grandchildren at your ex-husband's house, which ticked you off.
And later today,
Where's her cat?
That cat ran around outside. She lost that cat the first 2 weeks she was there. She couldn't find it. I don't have no cat.
The cat was still there.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Melissa Kina says her daughter, Jamie Jaworski, owes for 2 unpaid loans. Jamie says her mother is conspiring with her ex-husband to ruin her life.
Now, you were crying to your mother that your ex-husband was going to try to get custody of the children, and you couldn't afford a lawyer. You didn't have any money.
Basically, And
Right.
she said not to worry
And?
about it, that she would take care of it. And she sent me 2 checks.
From where?
From her credit card.
And?
And she wasn't worried about me paying her back. I didn't know how I was going to end up financially after the divorce.
How did you end up financially after the divorce?
I ended up giving him basically everything. I got $20,000 equity out of the house, of which I gave her a check for $4,000.
You did give her a big check. So if you got $20,000 from the sale of the house, why didn't you pay her back everything that you owed her?
Because I was buying another house and I was trying to have a little nest egg in case when you're employed by yourself, it's always good to have a little money back up.
Well, but if the only nest egg your mother had was the $10,000 she had of your grandmother's money, why should you have a nest egg and not her?
I don't know, I've really thought about it that way.
But isn't that a nice way to think about it, Miss Jaworski? I mean, how old are you?
I'm 37.
And how old is your mother?
My mom must be 57.
Yesterday.
57. So if somebody has to sort of struggle to put together a nest egg, isn't it easier for you, who's starting a new business, to put together a nest egg than your mother, who's 57? Especially since you spent the money. So it's real nice of you to want to have a nest egg all by yourself. But if what you're suggesting is that your mother said, well, if you don't pay the note back in the 2 years, that it's interest-free, you'll take the money out of your nest egg.
No, that wasn't the way it is. I think.
Well,
you're
that's what you just told me.
But
I'm just following what you told me.
I think you're misinterpreting it.
No, that's what you told me.
No, it's not.
Does that sound what you just told me?
Sounds like what she told you.
That she would take the money out of her nest egg and pay off the credit card and wait for you to finish putting your nest egg together so you would pay her. Duh.
If you have a business and you don't have operating capital and you don't have money to buy and bring things in and out, you can't run a business. And so that's what I used the other part of that money for.
That's not what you just told me.
It is. I had it.
No,
in a
that's
little,
not what you just told me.
I had it set aside so if something happened with the business that I could keep it going.
That's your nest egg.
Well, I had to because if
you owe
I
your
lose,
mother $4,000.
If I lose the shop,
you owe your mother $4,000, and I gather that the reason she's here is because you stopped paying her, according to your mother, because you had an estranged relationship for a while. Why, I don't know.
Because she's seeing my ex-husband.
Well, that's what you say. That's what you say.
That's not true. I'm seeing my grandchildren.
That's
and her
what you say.
ex-husband.
I think that makes it very convenient for you, Miss Jaworski, because she wasn't seeing her grandchildren, and she wrote a letter, according to her, to her grandson when he was at his father's house, and his father called her and said, if you want to see the boys, you can see them, and she's been seeing them at your ex-husband's house, which ticked you off. So you stopped paying the loan. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $4,000.
Thank you very much.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
There will not ever be a relationship.
I was done when she stopped making the payments.
It's not about the money. It's about the things that she's done.
It's just the way she is. She's very self-centered.
The fact that she's seeing my ex-husband.
She's whacked in the head. He's got a girlfriend.
I just think it's odd that he would go spend a week with her when they've had no relationship and they hated each other.
This is the second or third time she's gone around and slandered me, and I'm done with it.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Highmark versus Rigsby. Step forward, please.
25-year-old Anna Highmark is suing her ex-boyfriend, Eddie Rigsby Jr., for the return of her belongings. Anna says Eddie threw her out of their apartment and then disposed of her property.
Miss Highmark, what was your relationship with the defendant when you moved in with him?
We were friends. At that point, there was no other involvement.
According to what I'm reading between the lines, you moved in with him and relocated from one jurisdiction to another.
Correct.
And you traveled with a child.
Correct.
How old is your child?
She's 6.
Where had you been living?
In South Dakota, in Madison.
And where did you move to, sir?
Quad Cities, Illinois.
Who did you know in Illinois?
I knew nobody, but my apartment had flooded, and I had to move either way, and I disliked South Dakota tremendously. And
who lives in South Dakota?
All of my family.
So you were going to Illinois with a 6-year-old child, with someone with whom you were no longer romantically involved, just a friend, leaving your entire family and support system there. Did you have a job?
Within a week of moving to Illinois.
You found the job?
Yes.
What were you doing?
Working at the Army base.
Are you still there?
No, that was a temporary job. I've worked a series of temporary jobs since then.
Are you still in Illinois?
I'm in Iowa, across the border.
Who were you living with?
A friend.
Male friend or female friend?
Male.
When did you meet him?
When I moved to Illinois, about 3 weeks after.
And your daughter? Where's her father?
Her father is in South Dakota still.
Who's this?
This is my daughter's grandmother.
Her father's mother?
Yes.
Is your claim that when you moved with Mr. Rigsby to Illinois, you moved into his apartment, and that at some point he threw you out of the apartment and discarded your property?
My claim is that we got an apartment together where I was going to stay for about 2 months.
Was there a lease on the apartment?
In his name.
So then you didn't get an apartment together. He got an apartment.
With my money as well.
So what happened?
The day we arrived in Illinois, he began threatening me, saying he was going to have random women come over and beat me up, and when I was at work, he was going to throw my things out on the street, and a variety of things like that. And he got into my jewelry box a number of times, and 3 days in a row, I called and politely asked him not to dig in my jewelry box anymore.
Where did you call him?
On his cell phone, which I had gotten for him.
Why didn't you have this discussion when he came home? Was he not staying at home?
No, he wasn't.
When did he stop staying in his apartment?
The day he got it.
Why?
Because we didn't get along.
Where was he living?
Random women's apartments.
Who paid the rent?
It was split 50-50. There was 2 months free rent. There was a $450 deposit. I put down $200 on the deposit, and he put down $250.
So the first 2 months that you were there was no rent?
I was only there for 26 days.
So what you're telling me is you paid $200 to live there for 26 days?
Correct.
Okay. When did you come home and take her stuff and put it out at the curb, sir?
She was there for about a month. It was 2 days before the month was up. I put it on the curb. It wasn't on the curb. It was in front of the door. And this was like, I put most of it out there.
You told me curb. You wrote curb, sir.
Well, door, I meant.
Well, tell me the circumstances surrounding you doing
let's see,
that.
I put all the little stuff out first. Hoping she'd come back because I didn't want to put the TV. She had a little 1980s TV and a little bamboo chair, and I didn't want to put it out there because I didn't want to steal it. A month and a half goes by, she still hasn't been there.
Are you telling me that she left the apartment?
She called the cops on me. After the month was up, I told her she'd stay there 1 month. I said, you have to get your own place. My landlord didn't even want her there. She hit my garage. She almost hit my landlord, driving around.
A month is gone. And what happened?
I told her she had to go.
So did she leave?
Yeah, she called the cops on me.
She called the cops on you?
He said I was an intruder in my own home.
Okay. After the police arrived, what happened, Miss Highmark?
They said that there was no reason to arrest him.
There wasn't.
Besides his threatening me and bringing over people saying they were going to beat me up and taking
Miss Highmark, get over it. I don't believe you, period. Keep going. So you called the police,
I called
and the police said the lease to the apartment is in his name. They're not going to put him out. And what did you do?
I said I need a safe place to go. And they put me in a domestic violence shelter.
Perfect. So you left that night?
Yes.
When did you come back for your things?
Every day for the next month and a half.
Tell me how you went back.
I went back looking for his vehicle. His vehicle was not there. He was not there. So I left the note on his door saying I would be there the following Sunday at 2 p.m. I showed up, and he was not there. So I went over there consistently every day looking for his vehicle until finally one day I did find his vehicle there and called the police and had them knock on the door and ask if I could retrieve my belongings. And he said he no longer had them, although they were visible behind him.
What was visible behind him? A pot, you said?
There's crock pot, knife blocks, some dishes.
You mean you saw that from the door where you were standing?
What was in the kitchen I could see, because it was the kitchen door.
Okay.
This is the list right here of items.
Let me take a look at it.
Those are the list of things that I was not able to retrieve.
Where's her cat?
You
didn't take your cat?
I was going to a domestic violence shelter. I was not able to.
Did you see her cat?
No. That cat ran around outside all the time, and that cat was never around. She lost that cat the first 2 weeks she was there. She couldn't find it. I don't have no cat in a fight.
The cat was still there. The next day when I returned, the only belongings that he had put out on the curb were the empty litter box with the scoop and the cat food and a folder of papers.
So if I got a cat that's running around doing this thing all over my house.
All of this stuff is maybe worth $1,000. Maybe, if I believe it's all there. $5,000 never happened. Discard her stuff. You can't put it out. Do you understand?
See, this is the thing. She knew I worked during the day. She knew when to come and get her stuff. I work anywhere from 8 to 12 hours a day. She knows, come at night.
Listen to me. You go to a local police precinct and you say, listen, this is what I have. I have all this junk, because all this is...
Junk.
Junk.
Yeah.
But it's her junk. It's not your junk. So you don't have the right to throw out her junk. You understand that?
I understand that.
It's annoying. She was annoying. I get it. But you have no right to dump her stuff. You have to preserve it for a reasonable period of time, considering the fact that she was removed from the house with her child, limited window of time. So you have to take reasonable care, especially since she did pay $200 towards the rent, right?
Yeah.
None of this stuff is worth, according to you, $6,574. Not on a great day is this.
I don't know what she's got up there,
$6,000.
but what she left was a 1980s TV, a piece of junk bamboo chair, some CDs, and a crock pot.
What'd you do with her CDs?
All this stuff was gone. I don't even listen to the CDs. Not even the type of music I listen to.
Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,000. That's all. Step out.
Calendar in the matter of Blankenship versus DeFrancesco. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated.
Miss Blankenship, according to what I read, you and the defendant met at a bar, and he came home with you the same evening and stayed for a while. And according to your complaint, you had an agreement with him that he was going to pay you rent.
Yes, Your Honor.
And he stayed with you, I don't know, 3-4 weeks. He didn't pay any rent. And then you got into some sort of an altercation with him and claimed that he assaulted you.
Yes.
Mr. DeFrancesco says there was never an agreement to pay you rent, that he spent 5 months in jail because you made false charges of assault against him. He was ultimately released, and you want a certain amount of money for rent and $1,500 for this alleged assault.
Yes, Your Honor, I do.
Okay. On what day did you meet Mr. DeFrancesco?
It was the beginning of May.
In the evening?
Yes.
And you met him for the first time?
Yes, I did.
And he came home with you?
Yeah, we ended up going to my house. We were going to have a drink at my house. 3 days later, he's still at my home.
Okay, 3 days later, did you say? Yeah. Well, 3 days later, I assume you let him stay. Is that correct?
Yes.
Now, tell me about this agreement that you allege about rent.
Well, as I said, 3 days later, he's still at my house. He informed me that he didn't have any place to go. He had just gotten out of jail, which I wish I had known that, or else if I had, I wouldn't have let him come to my home. Told me he had nowhere to go, and we had both decided, let's try a fast, instant relationship, see what happens. Told him he wasn't going to live with me for nothing. He said he was a hard worker. He had no problem paying me $125 a week. The 30 days that he was with me, he worked maybe 2 days. All of his money went on cocaine. So that's what basically he felt that he was going to be doing at my house. And towards the end of it, I said I had enough.
Now, towards the end of it, I had enough is what I want to hear about, the night of this alleged assault. I'd like you to tell me in your own words what happened, Miss Blankenship.
We had been drinking at my house that day.
You do a lot of drinking?
Yeah, we had been out.
And he does a lot of drinking?
Yeah.
Do you also do drugs, or you just drink?
I didn't skip back into drugs until I hooked up with Bobby.
So then the answer is for the 30 days that you were together in your house, you were both drinking and doing drugs?
Yes.
And I assume he was purchasing the drugs?
No, I was. He didn't have any money.
Okay, so you were purchasing the drugs and giving it to him?
Basically, we were doing them together.
No. If you bought them and gave them to him. Is that what you're telling me? Oh. So tell me about the last night that you were together, the night of this alleged assault.
We had been out at one of the local bars drinking. We got I believe it was a 12-pack, went back to my house. When that was all done, we went back out drinking. I suggested that we get something to eat. I was going to get Chinese food. He said, fine, went home. I was getting the food ready, putting it on plates and everything. I turned around. Bobby's leaning up against the counter with his pants down to the floor, offering me something other to eat than the Chinese food.
And?
I was quite appalled by this whole thought at the moment. I went into the living room. I sat down. I figured I'd try and calm down for a few minutes. I went into the kitchen. He's now eating the Chinese food.
By this time, he's dressed himself?
Yeah.
And he's eating the Chinese food?
Yes.
And what happened?
I asked him if he wanted some rice with the food, and I threw a box of beef fried rice at him.
So you assaulted him with the rice?
No, I threw the rice at the floor.
No, your hand motion was...
Well, I threw the rice, but it wasn't at him physically. It was at the floor.
Well, that's not what you say in your complaint, by the way. You say that you started to throw the Chinese food at him.
In his direction.
In his direction. Okay. And what happened after you were throwing the Chinese food in his direction?
Well, I ended up asking him if he needed some sweet sauce with it. After that, we ended up getting into an argument. It boiled down to I was sitting at a chair at the kitchen table trying to figure out what we were going to do with this relationship. We got into an argument. He lunged over the kitchen table, grabbed me by the throat, and started to strangle me.
Miss Blankenship, you left something out, madam, that you put in your complaint. And that was that there was a time that Mr. DeFrancesco just said, I want to get out of here. And that was before you started with the food fight.
Mm-hmm.
He tried to go to the door to leave and get his clothes and leave. And you say in your complaint that you prevented him from leaving.
I, for whatever stupid reasons, didn't want him to take his clothes at the time. I felt that he owed me money for being there, and I figured that we'd straighten it out at some other time.
So you blocked the door?
I blocked the door.
And it was after you blocked the door that he lunged at you?
Shortly after that.
Now, you called the police and had him arrested.
When I could get to a phone, I called the police. He ripped the phones out of the wall.
Now, when did you finally get to the police?
After I got his hands off my throat.
Okay. So he took his hands off your throat, you called the police, and I assume you let him leave at that point.
I didn't let him leave. He went running out the door. This is after he pulled the alarm system out of the wall. I tried calling 911 from 2 telephones. He kept pulling the phones out of my hand, pressing the off
At
button
that
so
point,
couldn't
I
get to
assume,
them.
Miss Blankenship, that you were ready to let him leave.
Yeah.
Now, what hospital did you go to?
I didn't.
So if you didn't go to a hospital, I assume you weren't injured.
I was injured, but there wasn't anything that I felt that they could do to me
How
that
were
was
you
going to
injured?
make the marks go away.
How were you injured?
By him strangling me, I had marks on my arm, on my face.
Did you take any
I have
photographs
the
of it?
police report and pictures.
I'd like to see.
Plus, I didn't go right to the hospital, or I didn't go to the hospital because the police wanted me to go to the police station. I was down there for about 3-4 hours.
I noticed that in your statement to the police, you didn't tell the police that Mr. DeFrancesco wanted to leave, or that the mess that they observed in the kitchen of the Chinese food all over the place was the result of you throwing it all over the place. How come you didn't tell them that?
Oh, I don't recall whether I did or didn't.
You
Your
didn't.
Honor.
Trust me, you didn't.
Well, regardless of that, he has no rights to try to strangle me.
You had no right to try to keep him in the house.
Oh, I didn't physically block his entrance from
That's
leaving.
what you
The
said.
door
That's
was
exactly
right there.
That's exactly what you said.
I stopped him from getting his clothing, not from walking
No,
out
that's
the door.
not what you said, madam. You said, when I returned, I was still so angry that I started to throw food at him. He was going to get his stuff and leave, but I was too angry to let him leave with his clothes. I blocked the door.
I blocked the door from him getting his clothes in the bedroom.
So why didn't you let him get his clothes? You were both too drunk.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Your Honor, she assaulted me on other occasions, you know what I mean, and stuff like that. I don't hit women.
Mr. DeFrancesco, how come you spent 5 months in jail?
I was on probation, but I was charged with assault with intent to murder, and intimidating a witness.
And later today,
I was trying to do her a favor. That's it.
You did do her a favor.
Yeah.
Then what are you bothering me for?
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Cindy Blankenship says ex-boyfriend Robert DeFrancesco owes for strangling her. Robert says Cindy threw Chinese food at him.
Madam, he'd been drinking, according to you, for days. Drinking and doing drugs for days. All right, I'm prepared to hear you, Mr. DeFrancesco.
Your Honor, I first met Cindy. She's right. I did get
I
out
heard
of jail.
that how you met her. You met her at a bar. You went home with her and you stayed too long.
No, I went home with her, and that night I left. She at 5 in the morning. Some other gentleman caller called, and I had to leave. And she brought me to my brother's house. And then the next day, I went to see her. We did some gardening work, whatever. And
Could you look at me instead of looking over there?
oh, I'm sorry. Off and on, we stayed together for about 3 weeks. I'd see her for a few days. It would be okay. Then she'd start yelling at me for stupid little things, and it would get all crazy. And I'd say, you know, I'm going to leave. So one time she called the police, and I'd already left. But
He was trying to run my household.
Could you look at me when you're speaking, sir?
Yeah, I'm sorry, Your Honor. When the cops came, they just came because she just wanted me to leave, and I'd already left. So I told her, I said, you know, I'm on probation and stuff like that. I can't have any problems with the police, so I don't think this is going to work out. So to make a long story short, we'd gone back
You're
and
still
forth.
looking over there.
Back and forth, and then another time the police came to get me. You know, the same thing. I just left. I had my bag of clothes. It was raining out. I
You
left.
shouldn't be drinking with her, sir. I mean, but the problem is you're two drunks living together.
Well, Your Honor, the day in question of the day that I got arrested, I was working all day. I was working all day. She was at the bar. She was supposed to be going to get her motorcycle license or whatever, but it got done early. She came home. So then I got upset with her. I'd already told her a few times, you know, if this continues, we're not going to stay together. I can't handle this. You're too abusive.
It was the other way around, Your Honor.
Your Honor, she assaulted me on other occasions, you know what I mean, and stuff like that. I don't hit women. You know, she was hitting me.
Mr. DeFrancesco, how come you spent 5 months in jail? Were you on probation or parole?
I was on probation, but I was charged with assault with intent to murder, and intimidating a witness.
Okay.
That's what I was charged with.
Okay. And those charges were ultimately tossed.
They were dropped because she pled the fifth because she didn't want to perjure herself.
Well, for whatever reason, they should have been dropped a long time ago. What had you just been released from jail for?
Assault and battery, malicious damage. I got into a big fight at a bar. I did like 2 years.
Mr. DeFrancesco, may I suggest to you, sir, that you are not a good drunk? Do you understand? You're not a good drunk. And if you're going to continue to drink, I wouldn't take up with somebody who is also a bad drunk. Do you understand?
Yes, Your Honor.
All
That's
right.
what I
How
tried
old
to
are
do.
you, sir?
I'm 42 years old.
You look every day of it, Mr. DeFrancesco. You're getting old before your time, sir.
Well, Your Honor, I did try to leave. That's why, that's why I feel
I
it's
got
bogus.
it. Mr.
I don't-
Blankenship, you don't have a case. He didn't try to murder you. You were two
If he
drunks
didn't try to
having...
murder me,
Listen
Your
to
Honor,
me.
why did they charge him with attempted murder from the marks all over me?
Listen to
why
me.
did I call
read
911?
I'm telling you why you called 911, because he finally got fed up with you, and he probably did try to choke you. That's why. That's not attempted murder, just like you throwing Chinese food at him is not assault. You want to drink and do drugs with somebody who also drinks and does drugs? That's what happens. What are you bothering me for? Goodbye.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I tried to get out of the relationship, and it just ended up being violent.
It's obviously started a different way from him dropping his drawers to the floor and so on, making any type of sexual advances that he wanted to happen. So, I mean, it's insane.
Those are personal issues. That's stuff that normal people do, It's just that it just got carried away.
Him and I being together, drinking, not knowing what kind of relationship we were going to get into. So I wish it had never started from the beginning.
Of course, if you drink and drug, it's going to cause problems, But what she stated, that just shows that's one of her traits, you know what I mean? She just talks crazy.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Trathan versus Riffit, step forward, please.
Maintenance technician Joseph Trathan is suing his ex-girlfriend, inventory auditor Joelle Riffit, for the balance on a Dodge Stratus. Joelle claims the vehicle is Joseph's responsibility.
Mr. Trathan, according to your complaint, the defendant, who was your girlfriend, you have a child together, owes you for some money for a car.
Yes.
And Miss Riffit, I don't know. I tried to figure out her answer, but it was all kind of very soft. She says you agreed to assume the losses for the car when you sold it. However, we're going to ferret out the truth. When did you purchase this car along with Miss Riffit? In what year?
I co-signed, I believe, in 01.
When did you buy the car?
June of 2000.
What kind of car did you buy?
A Dodge Stratus.
It was your car?
Yes.
And he co-signed the loan because you couldn't get it without his co-signature, is that right?
We actually were both on the loan equally. It was...
Because you couldn't get it by yourself?
It was a lower interest that way.
Because you couldn't get it by yourself?
Yes.
And you kept the car from June of 2000 until when?
April 2004.
And what did you do with it?
Well, what happened was I left the house. I left him in October, and I tried maintaining the payments.
October of 2003?
Yes.
Okay.
So I was doing it. I had an apartment on my own, and I was trying to raise both my children, and I was having a hard time struggling making the payments because they were $330. Okay. And we had discussed it, and I asked him if he can help me out by taking the car because I can't afford it no more, so I can get a less expensive car. And the day before I gave it back to him, I called him and said, hey, Nissan called me, and they said they got a car for me for $4,500, which made my payments to be $170. Are you still willing to take it? Because I still had one more day to tell Nissan I didn't want it if he didn't agree. So he said, yeah, that's fine. We made arrangements. I dropped it off the car, and I put both sets of keys underneath the driver's seat. And after that, after I dropped it off on the 30th, I thought everything was done and fine. We were on good terms. I wasn't expecting any of this.
How much child support does he pay?
He pays me $205 now, but at the time...
Don't tap.
Okay.
$205 a what?
A week.
And how much child support do you get from the father of your other child?
$100 a week.
So you get twice that from him?
Now.
What were you getting before?
He was only giving me $100 a week.
And when did it double? Put your hand down. You're the girlfriend?
I'm the fiance, ma'am.
Fiance. We don't need you. We don't need to hear from you.
Yes, ma'am. Sorry.
Good.
On September 27th, we went to court, and that's when they distinguished $205 a week.
Now, sir, Miss Riffit says that you agreed to take... Stop shaking your head. You look like making me seasick. Miss Riffit says that you agreed to take the car and sell it. I assume sell it. Is that right?
No.
Well, tell me what you agreed to do.
I agreed to try to help her sell the car. I talked to my neighbors, some people at work, try to get rid of the car if I could.
Well, when she told you she wanted to get rid of the car, what did you say to her?
I said I would try. Yeah, I would say I would try to help you get rid of the car if I could. If I can't, that's your responsibility. It was your car. I'm not going to take the loss.
You told her that? You told her those things?
Yes.
Yeah.
I said it's not my.
And what happened when she dropped the car off with the keys at your house?
Well, I didn't want to take on the responsibility of the extra car payment, or if I couldn't make it, going against my credit. So I gave myself like a month time limit to try to get rid of it, because my neighbor was talking to her mom about trying to buy it. And then she got a hold of me. I couldn't sell it to her, so I went to CarMax, see how much they could offer to me for it.
Why did you try to sell it privately, put an ad in the paper?
Because I didn't want to continue making the payments. And also, if she's saying she couldn't afford it, when she moved out of the house, we split the equity in the house. I gave her a $10,000 check for the equity of the house several months later, which she knew she was going to get money for that.
You shouldn't have taken the car, sir. You have to have a contract with her.
I didn't take it. She left it on me.
Not have taken the car. You should have taken it back to her with the keys and said, this is your problem, this is your car, you've had it for 4 years, I'm not doing anything with it. But once you assume the responsibility by trying to sell it and then going ahead and selling it to somebody else, you can't come back against her for the difference. You didn't have a contract with her.
I was trying to do her a favor. That's it.
That's fine. You did her a favor. You did do her a favor.
Yeah.
Then what are you bothering me for?
Because, and then she's saying she couldn't afford it, but she gave it to me in April? That's 5 months later.
You have to have a contract with her. An agreement, oral, written. And the oral or written agreement says, if you sell the car at a loss, I will pay the difference. You didn't have that contract with her.
No, but I know I couldn't let it sit there and not have anyone make payments on it. She could give me half the money. What happens,
sir, is that after she stops making payments, they're going to repossess the car. If she let that happen. Now, she may not have let that happen because she has a job and she doesn't want her credit destroyed. But once you assume the responsibility by selling the car without a contract, oral or written, with her, you cannot then come to court and say, well, she should have done this. She should have made the payments. She should not have put me in that position. She should not have dropped the car off at my house. She dropped the car off, you took the car, and you sold it. That's your problem.
But I was trying to do the right thing.
Good.
And I didn't want it affecting my credit. It would have been too late if I would have waited for something like that.
I have to tell you, sir, I'm very sympathetic with you. You should not have done it. This is a court. Courts deal with contracts. You did not have a contract with her.
I have contracts on how much I paid
Sorry.
on it.
26 on the calendar in the matter of Davey versus Hanson.
Thank you.
You're welcome, Judge. Parties have been sworn in, Your Honor. You may be seated. Folks, have a
Who are
seat.
the three roommates? Raise your paws. Very good. Miss Davey, according to your complaint, you, this young lady, and this young lady decided to lease an apartment together. You signed a lease for how long?
Till August 10th, 6 months.
And you were going to share the rent?
Yes, we were going to split it 3 ways equally.
According to your complaint, you moved in February 2000, and?
We moved in the last week of January 2007, and...
But the rent started in February.
Well, we paid a little extra for the last week. We paid $100 extra.
All right.
Well, I did.
That's not... I never knew anything about that. Okay.
So, your complaint alleges that Miss Hanson did not pay her rent for February and did not pay her rent in March.
Right.
And then you did what?
She called me one night asking to get into the house, and I was busy. I wasn't at home, so I didn't let her in, and I told her that I wasn't going to let her back into the house until she paid me the money that she owed me.
So you locked her out?
Well, she was locked out. I didn't try to intentionally lock her out. She didn't offer to come pick up a key to get into the house, and I knew she could...
Well, that's something I don't quite understand. You have an apartment, there are 3 of you on the lease, and only 2 keys. Who wants to explain to me why there were only 2 keys? Yes.
There were only 2 keys because we were the only ones on the lease. Brittany wasn't on the lease.
And there's no way that you could have made a 3rd key?
We could have, but I just let Brittany use my key because she was working late one night and she needed to get in, and I was at my boyfriend's house.
Why didn't you go to a locksmith and make a 3rd key? I don't understand that. How?
I don't know. We could have done that, but didn't.
Anyway.
So we
you
didn't have
locked
the
her out.
3 keys.
You
She
locked
was
her
locked
out.
out.
You locked her out, and now you want your rent.
Yeah, she owes me
Fine.
for 2 months of
Okay.
rent.
Now, Ms. Hanson says that she told you that she could not afford February's rent. You told her not to worry about it. And then she was going to pay you in March, but you locked her out first. But
Actually,
at the beginning
Your
of
Honor,
March, that didn't require an answer.
Well,
I'm speaking.
that statement was incorrect.
Well, I said what she said happened is this. So now you have to be quiet. You have to sort of dust out the cobwebs. Now I'm telling you what her defense is. Do you understand?
I do.
She has a counterclaim. She says that you locked her out but took her property, took her clothes. And she can prove that because some of the clothes that belong to her, you are wearing on a website on the internet.
Not Taylor, Brittany was.
Brittany, one of whatever. And she wants her clothes back.
That doesn't have anything to do with me.
That also didn't require an answer. How old are you?
I'm 19.
Was that a question or an answer?
An answer.
And what do you do for a living?
I waitress and cook at the World Cafe.
And what do you do, Miss Anson?
I work at a coffee shop.
And you?
I'm front desk clerk at the Holiday Inn.
How old are you?
19.
19.
You moved out when in March?
The very first week of March.
Give me the date.
I think it was the 2nd.
No, it wasn't. No.
No, I think...
Now, let's not play with each other. You didn't pay March's rent on the 1st. You didn't pay March's rent on the 2nd. When did you call her and tell her you wanted to get into the house?
It was the first Thursday of March, so...
I have down that happened on the 7th of March.
Sounds right.
Okay, well, then I was mistaken.
Not the 1st or 2nd. So you lived there 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th. Why didn't you pay March's rent?
Because the rent was due on the 6th. And I told her that I couldn't give her March rent until like that weekend. Because
Why?
Because my mom was giving me money for it because I didn't have a job at the time. And my mom got paid that
Why did you move into an apartment if you didn't have a job?
Because they needed me to be on the lease to get the apartment.
Well, they did.
Because
Listen to
Brittany
me,
couldn't get on the
Miss
lease.
Hanson. Miss Hanson. They don't need an unemployed teenager to sign on a lease. Listen to me carefully. They don't need an unemployed teenager to sign on a lease in order for a landlord to say, oh, now they're really responsible because we have 3 teenagers, only one of whom has a job, maybe. That's not why they needed you to sign on, unless you had a job.
No, not the leasing company needed me to sign on. Taylor needed me to sign on the lease so she could get the apartment because Brittany couldn't get a co-signer, and I got a co-signer.
Who co-signed for you?
My mom.
Oh,
that's
great. Perfect.
I wouldn't have been able to get on the lease without a co-signer.
But she forged the co-signer, so...
That's not true at all.
Cute, they're cute. They should still be home and under somebody else's roof, but they're cute. Listen, you have to pay rent. You live in an apartment, you have to pay rent.
I totally agree.
Right, so you owe February and March's rent.
I didn't live there for March. She kicked me out at the beginning of March.
No, you lived there the first week in March.
Then I would have paid her the first week of March, that like day by day that I lived there, but they kicked me out of my house.
No, listen to me. I'm going to get to your counterclaim in a second. Okay. You may not be disappointed, but I have to explain to you that when you live in an apartment, you can't be a baby. And if you sign a lease and if you're supposed to pay rent, you say the first of the month you have to pay rent. And you don't take on the responsibility of an apartment unless you can afford it. Are you still living in the apartment?
Yes, I am.
Who lives there?
I found 2 roommates on Craigslist.
Are they okay?
Yeah, they're great.
Where is she living?
Eureka, I believe. California.
Okay, so she left.
Yes, she moved out at the beginning of April.
Okay, did she pay rent in February?
Yes.
Did she pay rent in March?
Yes. Yeah. She didn't pay right then, but she's paid me back.
So you covered it?
Yes.
For both of them?
Well, I covered it at the start of the month because she got her paycheck like the 2nd week or something, so she didn't have it right then.
And what was everybody's share of the rent?
$250 each.
Okay. Now, you're going to tell me about your clothes.
Well, the day that they locked me out, told me that I couldn't come back.
Should have had your own key.
I had my own key. I let Brittany use it.
That's
she
your
didn't
problem.
have her own key.
No, that's your problem. You
Okay.
should have had your own key. Then nobody can lock you out.
I went and got my own key after that, after they locked me out for a day.
Fine, so you went and got your own key, so you weren't locked out.
Yeah, but that day that they locked me out, they told me that they were kicking me out. I couldn't live there
Well, they
anymore.
could have told you that, but that's
So
not true. They can't kick you out because you're on the lease.
Well, I didn't want to live there anymore after that anyway, because they were
Being rude to you.
Yeah, and they were bullying me.
Okay.
So
you moved
I
out.
went. So I went the next day to get my things, and I had a key from the leasing office, and my room had been gone through. Half of my closet was empty. He was there. He can vouch for me. I asked them for my things back. They had put locks on their doors, and they wouldn't give me anything back, and said that they didn't have anything. A couple weeks later, a friend of mine was showing me Brittany's MySpace pictures, and she was wearing my underwear on on a photo of her topless and just in underwear, and it was in. They were mine.
You recognized your underpants?
Yeah.
You recognize your underpants?
They're like specialty kind. They're not just like regular white underwear. They're like, you can buy them from like a boutique.
Miss Davy, just for my own edification, did you put a picture of yourself?
Oh, me? No. I don't do that.
Who did? This one?
Brittany.
Raise your hand if you put up a naked picture of yourself.
I'm not naked.
What is it?
I'm in underwear. They're my underwear. They're not her underwear. I don't know why she.
Why would you put? Stand up.
Why would she steal underwear?
Please. Why would you put a picture of yourself on the internet in your underwear?
One of my friends did it for his photography thing. He wanted American Apparel looking pictures, and there was one in my underwear.
Very stupid.
Okay.
You live to regret that when you're 30, maybe even when you're 25. Have you done anything like that again?
No.
Yes. Before?
No.
Maybe. No. Just once?
No, well, like there was more than one picture, but it's not that big of a deal, I don't think.
It is a big deal. You have to think about what you're doing. There are all kinds of perverts and creepy people out there that sort of surf the internet looking for dumb young girls who put up pictures of themselves in their underwear or worse. Don't do it again.
Okay.
Sit down. You have any other proof that you took your clothes?
I don't really have proof that they took my clothes, but I have a list of some of the clothes that they took, and along with stealing my clothes, they posted things about me on the internet. Like, they made a couple websites about me, saying really, really horrible things. They've been harassing me. It's just showing what kind of people they are. They're not good girls. They're not good people. And they stole all my clothing, locked me out of my house, and are harassing me for it.
No, I don't.
I don't know whether she does or whether she doesn't.
I have a pair of Roxy jeans and a pair of Gap jeans that were given to me by her because they were a size 5, which doesn't fit her.
That's not true. I never gave her any clothes.
She wants them back.
She can have them.
They've been denying that they've had anything this
I haven't been in
Listen
any
to me.
contact.
I have no time or to have less patience for this. You owe her $500 for rent for February and March. You're going to send her back her 2 pairs of jeans and anything else you might find that belongs to her. Do you get it?
I do.
Perfect. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Bye. Have a happy life.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I moved out. I wasn't agreeing with the way that they were living.
I have lived a lifestyle that maybe she wasn't happy with.
The constant partying, the drinking, the drugs.
You know, I do like to party sometimes.
The stripping, all sorts of things.
But I thought she was in on the whole thing.
They just weren't good girls anymore.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Stang versus DeJana. Step forward, please.
Bonnie Stang is suing her ex-boyfriend, Thomas DeJana, for credit card charges in excess of $11,000.
Ms. Stang, it is your claim that Mr. DeJana owes you some money.
Yes.
Owes you some money because he used your credit card.
Yes.
You were given him permission to use your credit card with the understanding that he was going to take care of the bills from the credit card and use it only for emergencies. Mr. DeJana racked up thousands of dollars of expenses on the credit card, and you want that money back.
Yes, Your Honor.
In addition, claim he owes you some money for rent because he rented a condo of yours. All of that is well in excess of this court's limit of $5,000. So we'll get into the rent only if we have to. Let's deal with the credit card. Okay? Mr. DeJana, I want you to pay careful attention, sir, because it's my understanding that it is your claim that you were told that this was a credit card for your use because you are a disabled person. She cared for you, and she was just being a nice person. There was never any expectation that you were going to pay this credit card back yourself.
That's my agitation, yes, ma'am.
Mr. DeJana, perhaps I can start with you, sir, if you don't mind. Where and when did you meet Miss Stang?
I met Miss Stang on an internet dating site.
So you were looking for a date?
I was looking for some companionship, yes, ma'am.
How old are you?
38.
Ever been married?
Yes, I have.
How many times?
Once.
Do you have children?
Yes, I do, Your Honor.
How many?
1.
How old?
She's a 9-year-old daughter.
And in what state does she live?
New York.
And where do you live?
On San Diego.
You live very far away from your child.
Yes, I do.
How come?
During...
is not an answer.
Excuse me?
Is not an answer.
My apologies, Your Honor.
Go ahead.
I moved to San Diego because of the divorce situation. Was a little bit too much for me to deal with being so close to the situation. We were having some custody issues and things of that nature, so I thought that I would move to San Diego for a little while to give myself some room. I ended up loving it and staying.
How often do you see your daughter?
3 or 4 times a year.
Does she come to you or do you go to her?
She's still a bit young for that travel, so I go to New York.
When was the last time you were there?
Christmas.
You pay child support, Mr. Chichana?
Yes, I do.
How much?
$500 a month.
Are you in arrears of your child support order, and in what jurisdiction is your action pending?
It is in Nassau County, and those arrears, there's a petition for dissolution of the arrears going before the court.
So
in
the
June.
answer is that you are in arrears?
Yes, I am.
How much in arrears are you, sir?
Not exactly sure, ma'am. Due to the fact that I have been paying cash to my ex-wife at times, the court settlement numbers were different than
Can I
what we
please
agreed
have
on.
what amount they are alleging you are in arrears?
I do
Just
not
a second.
know.
You tell me that you petitioned the court to have the arrears vacated.
That will be happening this summer.
Well, how much did you ask them to dissolve?
Your Honor, I have no idea because I have not spoken with an attorney about this yet. I plan on being back in New York this summer and taking care of these issues.
So you haven't started anything?
No.
He's cute. You know. Now, Mr. Giugiano, when did Miss Stang give you a credit card?
Just before I went to New York for Christmas.
And what did you tell her when she gave you the credit card?
I told her thank you very much for helping me out in this time of my need.
Why were you in need, sir?
I went on disability October 26th, and the California Disability
October
Insurance...
26th of 2006, you went on disability.
Yes, Your Honor.
What is the nature of your disability?
I had a torn-up shoulder.
From what?
Playing baseball.
What kind of work were you doing?
I'm an industrial electrician.
Okay. So you went on disability.
Yes, October 26th, my doctor signed the disability note. By the time I was
leaving... Were you
leaving...
playing baseball for your company?
No, I was not playing baseball for my company. I was playing baseball for my own recreation.
Now, I want you to tell me, Mr. Giugiano, because something was very interesting to me. You couldn't work because of a torn shoulder?
I have no mobility above 180 degrees at that time.
Really?
Anything below here is just fine. I could lift things, I could do just about anything, as long as I didn't go above 180 degrees.
Aren't there other jobs that you could find, sir, that would permit you to work and not lift your arms up all the way up here?
I'm an industrial electrician, and that entails a lot of heavy lifting above my head, screwing in pipes,
No, listen
wires.
to what I said. Listen to what I said,
Ma'am,
Mr.
I'm a trained
Giugiano.
electrician, that's what I do.
Listen to what I said to you, sir. When you have a 9-year-old child,
Yes.
you pick up cans. You don't have to lift anything above your head in order to pay your child
I
support.
understand that.
I'm glad you understand it. I just want you to understand that I know where we're coming from.
But also-
Now, what were you doing skiing in Utah?
I wasn't skiing, ma'am. I drove my friends there in my truck, and along
You
with their gear
drove
in my
your
trailer.
friends in your truck
Yes, ma'am.
to Utah in February 2007. This is your sworn answer.
Yes.
I had a ski trip planned to Utah with friends. That's what you say, not what she says.
That's a correct statement, ma'am. I had a ski trip planned in February with my friends.
So?
The plan all along was for me to drive there with several of the individuals going on the trip and to haul all of the ski equipment and other snow equipment in my trailer so that people didn't have to deal with it
Get
at
a
the
job driving a cab. If you could drive cross-country for a ski vacation, sir, and haul all their skis, get behind the wheel of a cab and drive a taxi, drive a limousine service.
That's not my choice
Drive-
of occupation.
Oh, well, I want to tell you
Unfortunately.
something. I want to tell you something.
I don't mean
You
to
want
be
to be,
disrespectful, Your Honor.
hey, I'm speaking, you're not. You want to be a bum on your own time, that's fine. You have a 9-year-old child. Forget her. You have a 9-year-old child. I wouldn't give you 1 iota of relief from your back child support. Not one. And I know the judges in New York City, sir. That's my hometown. And they're not going to do it either. Now, how much does he owe you on the credit card?
$11,000.
Can I see some of the purchases that he made, please?
Which happened over 6 weeks, most of which were cash withdrawals.
Listen, how old are you?
Too old for this, 44 years old.
Let me tell you something.
Yes, ma'am.
I could tell that he was a bum in 5 minutes. How does it take you 6 weeks to figure out that this guy hasn't been able to get his life straight?
I have faith in mankind, which has now been
No,
destroyed.
you cannot have faith in mankind. Your head wasn't ruling you.
Thank you. You're right, Your Honor. You're absolutely right. He played on my insecurity.
I don't even see what his attraction is.
He doesn't have any.
Different if he,
Your Honor, he...
looked like Tom Cruise. Jesus. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $5,000. Get him out of here.
How does that excuse you? That's case number 192 on the calendar in the matter of Waters versus Flat.
Thank you.
You're welcome, Judge. Parties have been sworn in, Your Honor. You may be seated. Sir, have a seat, please.
Ms. Waters, do you have a problem that requires you to wear a visor and sunglasses?
Yes, ma'am. I have a letter from the doctor here.
Can I
if you
see it,
need
please?
Yes.
All right, well, this is a letter requesting permission for you to wear the visor and glasses?
Yes.
So I have no objection.
Thank you.
Okay. Ms. Waters, this young lady is your stepdaughter.
Yes.
And her husband.
Yes.
And this gentleman?
Is my husband.
This is your daughter?
Yes, ma'am.
Your complaint alleges that you loaned your stepdaughter and her husband a little over $10,000.
Yes.
And they have repaid half.
A little less than half.
And you want the balance?
Yes.
Your stepdaughter and her husband say they've paid you back all that they have to because they did some work, some barter for you that took care of the balance of the loan. That's your defense. Is that right? How much money did she borrow from you?
Total? Probably about $70,000.
What did you borrow the money for?
For car payments. She paid insurance. There is a payoff balance there from a vehicle that she had taken.
For a car?
Right.
That you needed?
Mm-hmm.
Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, how much money did you borrow from your mother?
Her or my real mother?
Your biological mother?
None.
None? How much money did you borrow from your father?
None.
So it sounds to me, from your mother and your father, you got squat. From your stepmother, you got a whole bunch, right?
Right.
Now, you paid her back $4,000. She says she's loaned you over the years a lot more than $10,000. So now you are going to explain to me why you didn't pay her back the rest. Who's speaking?
Well, first of all, it all started out where we were getting behind.
Why were you getting behind?
On trying to get everything paid.
Why?
Financially.
We were financially in a rut, Your Honor, and...
Why were you in a rut? You're two young people. How many children do you have?
2.
2. Do you work?
Yes.
Do you work?
Yes.
Well, I have slow seasons at my work, and then we weren't making the bills, and Miss Waters took on a couple loans for us. That's how...
Well, that was really nice of her. You have mother and father?
Yes.
Did they give you money to pay off your bills?
No. If they had,
Yeah,
they
brother...
would.
What?
If they had, they would, though.
That's always a good answer. If I had it, I'd give you anything I had. All I wish to have is that I had it. So far, I've got your mother and father who gave you nothing, her mother and father who gave you nothing, and stepmother who gave you a lot. Right? I'm listening to a yes.
They helped us out, yes.
She helped you out.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So now I'm listening as to why you didn't pay her back. I'm listening.
We were renting a house from her. We did a bunch of repairs.
You were renting a house from her?
Yes.
So she had a house. Tell me about the house.
The house, originally when we first got married, she purchased a house for us, and we were buying the house off of her through a bank.
So she purchased a house, and she said to you, if you pay it off, it's yours. If you pay off the note, it's yours.
Yes.
Did she put any money down on the house?
I paid 100% of it. Their closing costs, their furniture, everything. All they had to do was move in.
And they were supposed to pay you back by paying rent every month?
Well, no, it was actually a mortgage set up at that time.
Oh, good.
So that they could get credit.
And how much were they supposed to pay you every month?
At that point, it was $435 a month.
What a bargain. Couldn't get that anywhere else, could you?
No, we got it and we were paid on it.
So?
About 2 years went by, we ran into some problems where my mother-in-law wanted to take the house back into her name.
Why was that?
We ran into marital problems.
Yeah.
And instead of losing the house, my mother-in-law wanted to sign the house back over into her name.
Your Honor, before that, before they had the marital problems, they were over 3 months behind. I made arrangements with them at that time because I was going to go ahead and go into foreclosure because they were behind on their car payments, which Ford Credit was getting ready to come and repo. They called me. I had to send money to them to stop that. They were over 3 months behind on the mortgage. They talked me into stopping the foreclosure if I would give them a chance, and so I let them make month-and-a-half payments until they caught it up. Then they split up. And that time, my stepdaughter had actually moved in with another gentleman, and we allowed the grandchildren and Mr. Flat, Brandon here, to move in with my husband and I to help him out because everything was really chaotic at that time.
So far, does that sound right, Brandon? Did you go and live with them?
Yeah, for about a week or 2.
So they were very nice to you?
Grandchildren.
Well, you were there too, weren't you?
Yes.
You ate there, didn't you?
Yes, I did.
You slept there?
Yes.
Ah, I got it. Why don't you owe her the rest of the money?
Well, we ended up getting back together, moved back into the house, and at this time, my mother-in-law owned the home at this time she decided to rent us the house.
She decided to what?
Rent us the house instead of mortgage payments.
Okay.
We did a bunch of repairs on the house, and she had an agreement where if I was going to help her do this work, she was going to sell us the house back, and she was going to use that money that I did on the work in the house as a down payment back to that house. That was a verbal agreement we had.
Is that right?
Somewhat.
What kind of an agreement did you have with him?
What happened was in October of 2003, they had come up and told me that they were not going to rent the house any longer when the lease ran out in March, I think it was. I told them at that point then I was going to have to do some renovations to the house and put it on the market to sell it because I needed to get out from under it because of the expenses. Then after some of the improvements that we were doing, we were, adding to actually make it a 3-bedroom home. They decided they liked the landscaping and everything we were doing to it. It looked real nice again, so they told me they wanted to buy it. So we told them at that point in time, if they were going to buy it, they had to get their own mortgage, that we couldn't do it. That was, we had done all we could do.
Right. Get your money, act like grown-ups, take care of yourself.
I told them, which basically wasn't legal, but I said, okay, if you help us finish this up so they can come in and do an appraisal on the house to help you get a mortgage, we'll say that you've put X amount of dollars down. So it'll make it easier for you to get this mortgage.
Gotcha. Does that sound right?
Yes, it does, yeah.
Okay.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Hey, why don't you turn around? Just look at him, okay? Now look at me. In 10 years, you won't remember what he looks like. I'm being serious with you. In 10 years, unless you have pictures around the house to look at, you will not remember what he looks like.
And later today...
What word of be quiet didn't you understand? B. You didn't understand B? We're going to try it again, because Bill Clinton, you're not.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Lucinda Waters says her stepdaughter, Kim Flatt, and her husband, Brandon, owe for loans to pay their bills. Lucinda also says the couple won't let her see the grandchildren.
So I'm still waiting to hear why you didn't pay your stepmother back and your mother-in-law back the money that you owe her.
Well, the last month we lived there, Yana, we were a half a month behind, and she decided to evict us, so...
Why were you half a month behind?
Bills got caught.
Bills! The two of you were like an accident looking to happen. You're old enough to make children, you're old enough to play house, but you're not old enough to take care of your business. This lady is not going to continue to take care of your business and to clean up after you. You have parents. They don't help you. You have brothers and sisters, who knows, and how many other relatives. Nobody else helps you except this lady here, and you pay her back by not paying her back. You two are an outrage. Do you get my point?
Yes, ma'am.
Huh?
Yes, ma'am.
You ought to thank her by kissing her anywhere she says. Instead of not paying her back what you owe her. Don't say anything else. Miss Waters, I'm not often prone to give advice and to talk about wise, age-old adages, but no good deed goes unpunished. You see, he's probably talking to his mother and father, who gave him nothing. Only, I'd give you anything I had if I had it, but I don't have it. She's probably still talking to her mother. She might even be talking to her father, who gave her nothing. The only one that they're not talking to is the one who was most generous and took care of them, and that's you.
And they won't even let me see the grandchildren.
Well, then they are stupid, insensitive babies, right? Because the only one that helped you is her. And it would seem to me that if you have children and the only grandparent that they can count on is her, then it would seem to me that you are really two of the dumbest people that I've met in a long time if you don't allow her to see her grandchildren.
They told me I would get a restraining order if I even tried to go see them.
Why is that?
Because look, she's trying to come after us for everything we ever had. She didn't always help us. She was always trying to bury us in financial debt every time she got a chance. Oh, I'll go buy you a car, and I need a car, so what can I do? I don't want my kids around somebody like that.
Where do you come from? Where do you come from? What jurisdiction do you come from? What
Florida.
state? Florida. Where in Florida?
Ocala.
They would have the water tested there. You owe her $5,000. And if you're smart and if you're sensitive, listen, see your first husband?
Yes.
Are you as dumb as he is?
No.
So you understand that he sounds very stupid. He does sound very stupid. You have children?
Yes, ma'am.
Is he the father of your children?
Yes, ma'am.
And you were separated once?
Twice.
Twice. I want you to turn around, just look at him, okay? Now look at me. In 10 years, you won't remember what he looks like. I'm being serious with you. In 10 years, unless you have pictures around the house to look at, you will not remember what he looks like. Now I want you to look at her. You're going to always know what she looks like. She's going to be the staple in your life, not him. Now, quite frankly, you're irrelevant, but your children aren't irrelevant. You're going to have to rely on them. If you cut them off, you're as dumb as he is. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you think that I'm right?
Yes, ma'am.
Right. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $5,000. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
They think that they just can get it and they don't have to pay it back.
I really don't believe that I owed her the money.
I was told to get out of their home, which was my home at the time.
Blown out of proportion.
I just want us all to be a family again.
In the future, yeah, I do see it.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Feynman versus Hernandez. Step forward.
Aspiring author Annie Feynman is suing her former astrologer, Anita Hernandez, for breach of confidentiality. Annie says Anita used her pen name without permission.
Miss Feynman, your lawsuit alleges that somehow Miss Hernandez published something with your name on it. It wasn't your name, it was a pen name that you used, and that people might recognize the pen name and attribute whatever problem it was to you. So I want you to explain to me and to Bird here, what did she publish, when did she publish it, why it caused embarrassment to you, and why you think that she breached some sort of confidentiality arrangement she had with you. Let's go.
Okay. I've been in a depression for a while, so I decided to consult an astrologer. And I gave her some personal details of what had been happening.
You're an astrologer?
Yes.
How did you find her?
I had been seeing her website for quite a while, and she's very...
On the internet?
Yes. She's a very interesting astrologer, and I thought this would be an interesting way to maybe solve some of the problems I'm having. So the email name I use, the Flame McBain email name...
The what? Flame?
Flame McBain, which happens to be the main character of a novel I wrote, which I'm sending out to get published. It isn't published yet. That's why I'm nervous about this information being sent all over the internet, because I'm afraid a scandal might come of it, because the information she put out in a newsletter...
Just a second. You're getting ahead of yourself. Oh. So you wanted her to do what?
I wanted a chart.
You wanted a chart?
Yeah, some astrological calculations as to what was happening. Very personal, embarrassing details.
Miss Feynman, you sent this over the internet?
Yeah. Yeah.
Go ahead. So, along with personal details that you wouldn't want the stranger to know about.
I thought it was just going to Miss Hernandez. Well, you have a point.
What I want to see now is how you published her problem, because what she's complaining about is that you published her problem and people could identify her.
It's a limerick.
It's a limerick. I remember limericks from high school.
Ogden Nash.
Don't let them see that. Is this what you're complaining? I want you to take a look at that. Is this what you're complaining about?
Yeah, this is exactly what... She had sent out the newsletter. I didn't get it, coincidentally enough, but my friend did. My witness got it. That's how I found out about it.
Okay. Can I see it, please? Suffice it to say, without going into details, which would be even more embarrassing for you, because instead of a few people getting it on the internet, hopefully, since our courtroom is televised, hopefully tens of millions of people will be watching.
And won't know the details.
And won't know the details. So you were asking about a situation that you had that involved something personal.
Right.
And she responded by writing a little poem and identified you by the use of the name that you sent her, which was Flame McBain.
I've used this name for 8 years. People know that it's me. Had she just said my client, it wouldn't have been a problem.
It wouldn't have been a limerick.
Just a second. Just a second. Why did you use that name when you sent her?
I didn't. She used it from my email address.
Right. And she says clearly, no real names used.
Right, but I've used that name for 8 years. People know it's me.
So what? She didn't use any real names, and the only way she could convey to you things were by using your name.
Beyond what's happening now, I'm very nervous that if I do get published, that this would come out to be used against me in the future and cause me public embarrassment. I wanted to, like, get it over with now.
Her novel is about a hooker. Her novel is about a hooker.
Miss Hernandez, Mr. Hernandez, put it away. Put it away. Miss Feynman, listen to me very carefully. Shh.
Third generation.
Shh. What word of be quiet didn't you understand?
B.
You didn't understand B?
B.
We're going to try it again, because Bill Clinton, you're not. If you're afraid that the name Flame McBain will come back and haunt you if your novel is published, is that what your real concern is? Change the name.
Change what name?
Flame McBain.
It's too late. It's copyrighted, and the book is...
Just a second. Nobody bought it yet. If somebody...
I have sold it unpublished.
Listen to me. If somebody buys it, change the name. Miss Feynman.
I can't do that.
Get it. Why can't you?
That's my character's name.
Change it if you're afraid of being embarrassed. Change the name.
Way too late for that. Oh, my God.
Oh, my God. Oh, my God. Listen, if you don't want something to be out there in the general, wherever they put the
it's
things,
already
listen to me
copyrighted.
carefully, wherever they go in the Internet, wherever things go in the Internet, into outer space, don't put it in writing. Nothing is private that's on the Internet. And if you didn't learn that before, this is a very good lesson. And if you're not afraid of it being out there, but what your real fear is that it may negatively impact on your book, change the name of your heroine. Goodbye.
Party 141 on the calendar in the matter of Durazo versus Sheindlin. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated, sir. Have a seat, please.
Mr. Razzo, I've read your complaint, and according to what I've read, you were living in Syracuse, New York.
Yes, I attend school there.
Mr. Sheindlin was living in New York City.
That's correct, ma'am.
He was smitten and decided to move from New York City to Syracuse, New York, a decision that he lived to regret.
That's correct, ma'am.
According to you, he moved there in April of 2002, correct?
Yes.
And got an apartment. The apartment had no furniture, and according to your complaint, you loaned him money to buy furniture so that he'd have a couch to sit on and a bed to sleep on, and he owes you $610. Mr. Sheindlin said that the furniture was a gift because he relocated to live with you. The money that was advanced was never intended to be a loan. You couldn't stand the fact that he was sleeping on the floor and sitting on a crate, so that you agreed to buy him the furniture. In addition to that, Mr. Sheindlin says that 4 months later you unceremoniously dumped him, right?
That's correct, ma'am.
And then broke into his apartment, causing him to have to change the locks. He ultimately went to the police. He lost a day's wages, which he's counterclaiming for. He was also fired from his job because he worked at the school where you were a student, and they made him leave the school, and on and on and on. And aside from everything else, he hated Syracuse.
That's correct, Your Honor.
So he's counterclaiming. So let's hear about the furniture.
Yes, he got an apartment. At the time, he had very little people that were willing to help him, including his parents.
Well, because he was moving to be close to you.
Which I did not ask him to do. I asked him not to move to Syracuse.
Really?
Yes.
You told him not to move to Syracuse?
Yes, several
times. Is that right?
Actually, Your Honor, what she had said was that she didn't think it was a good idea. However, she left the moving up to me.
She didn't think it was a good idea?
Yeah.
Because why?
Just because I had to move, job that I was working at, I had to leave that job, had to find a new job up there, those kind of circumstances, Your Honor.
So she didn't think it was so smart for you to leave New York City?
Yes.
So why did you come?
I moved because I thought that I had enough money. I thought it'd be best for us maybe to be a little closer together. There were times where there was complaints about, us not being able to see each other as often.
Who was complaining, you or her?
Both parties, Your Honor.
Is that right?
More so him.
I gather. Okay, so we got there. Let's go.
He asked me to loan him the money to buy the furniture.
What did he say?
He didn't have money. He said, he began working at the university. As soon as he gathered enough money, he would pay me back. Mr. Plord, who is also Mr. Sheindlin's witness, was present when we bought the furniture. I
I loaned him, I put it on my credit card. Knives, spoons, a little table that we bought, and a futon.
Were you present when this furniture was purchased?
Yes.
Step up, please. How do you know these people?
Well, she was a resident advisor at Marion Hall, and so was I, and that's how we met. And then when he moved to Syracuse, I met him because he was there.
Tell me what you know about the furniture.
It's a futon, it's a stainless
Oh, you were
steel.
there when it was purchased?
Yes. I brought the mattress home in my car.
Did you hear any conversation between the plaintiff and the defendant with regard to loan, gift?
She just put it on her credit card and didn't say much about repayment or anything.
You didn't hear any of that?
I didn't hear anything
Okay,
like that.
Good. You can have a seat. Okay. So you put $610 on your credit card. Is that what you put on the credit card?
Yes, we've met several times after we broke up, even for lunch, discussing when payment would be made. So there's been plenty of discussion about the payment of the furniture, and Mr. Porter was also there when Mr. Sheindlin admitted that he did owe me that money.
Okay, fine. Now, sir, you say that she broke into the apartment and she destroyed the furniture.
Yes.
Is that true?
That is true, Your Honor.
Is that true?
I did not break into his apartment. We had a
Did you destroy the furniture?
No, I did not.
Did you do anything to the furniture?
I will tell you how he claims.
No. Tell me what you did to the furniture.
I went to his apartment. I had the key, which he gave me. I went, he has a very narrow spiral staircase, and I slipped. It was myself and another girl. It was about my size. It's a pretty heavy futon, just the mattress. And we were unable to get it down the spiral staircase, so we had to throw it over.
Throw it over what?
The staircase is a spiral and it's thin. We could not physically get it through the staircase, so we had to throw it over.
And what? Put your hand down.
Okay.
And what happened when you threw it over? You mean just the mattress?
Well, yeah, we got it down there. Like I said, I slipped, and we got it down there. And then once we were trying to get it in my friend Kenny's car, who took us to get the mattress, and we weren't able to. So we left to go find Carlos so I can retrieve the rest of my items, the futon frame and everything else I had in the apartment.
Could you tell me what you did with the futon?
The mattress?
I lost you at it. You couldn't get it in your car after you threw it over the
Yeah, I left
railing.
it there because there's nowhere I could not.
Where?
I left it on the ground outside because...
You get nothing for the furniture.
The futon frame is...
You get nothing for the furniture. Madam.
The mattress costs only about $200 compared to...
I don't care. In order for him to be able to use the futon frame, he has to have a futon. You destroyed the futon.
He had a year to pay me back for it. And
Then if you had waited and done exactly what you did by filing a small claims case against him, you would have gotten your money if I found that, indeed, he promised to pay you back. But what you did was, first you went to his house, you destroyed part of the property that put him in a position where he couldn't use it, because in order to use a futon frame, because I know what they look like, you have to have a futon mattress. So either he had to go out and buy a new futon mattress so that he could use it, or he gets rid of the frame. You get nothing for the furniture. Do you understand?
Do I get my furniture back?
What furniture back?
It belongs to me. I paid for it. So can I have the futon?
If he's got it,
Your
do you
Honor,
have the frame?
It is currently in Jonathan Plord's dorm room.
Oh, fine.
So she can go pick it up also.
Perfect. Just a second.
All right.
So far, you're not doing badly, right?
Yes.
She's going to come over and get the frame.
Okay.
Is that okay?
Yeah.
Jonathan? Zippity-doo-dah.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
That I do not have. He has not returned my phone calls.
Listen, I'm getting really frustrated. And I shouldn't be frustrated. I'm too old to be frustrated.
And later today,
The change out of my piggy bank is missing.
You think she took all that?
I'm not sure. From what
Give me
she's
a break.
telling me,
She don't look like the kind of person who would steal your property, madam.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Cecilia Durazo claims ex-boyfriend Carlos Sheindlin owes for a loan to buy furniture. Carlos says Cecilia destroyed the furniture in question.
Let's get to your counterclaim. So we've just taken care of your claim. Futon frame back to her, 5 days.
Do I get the money for the spoons and table and
No.
everything else?
No, you don't get the money for the spoons. Now let's move on. She used the key, she acknowledges, to go into your apartment, so you had to change the locks. On what date did she go into your apartment?
I believe that was April 26th. It was a Saturday.
And when did you leave that apartment?
About a week and a half later.
Now, do you have a receipt from a locksmith for changing the locks on the apartment?
No, my landlord did the lock change. He charged me for the lock. And
Show me.
I don't have it.
Well, that's what we call proof. In court, we need proof.
I do have photographs of the damage to the apartment, which caused me to lose my security deposit, though, Your Honor.
Show me proof that the landlord kept your security deposit. Do you have that?
No, that I do not have. He has not returned my phone calls.
Listen, I'm getting really frustrated. And I shouldn't be frustrated. I'm too old to be frustrated. When you come to court, you have to have proof. Do you understand?
I understand, Your Honor.
You don't have proof for me. It's very easy to get a letter, statement, showing that I'm not returning your security deposit, because I would assume that if the apartment wasn't a wreck, you would have gotten your security deposit back, right?
Yes. Also, on top of that, because I was forced to resign from my job, I had to abruptly leave Syracuse. And my lease, which I have here, states that I have to let him know 2 months ahead of time that I'm leaving, or else he keeps the security deposit.
There you go. And you had to leave Syracuse because, according to you, you worked at the same place that she worked.
Yes, and my...
Well, I mean, that's all hearsay. That all would be hearsay, why you had to leave. But you did leave.
Yes.
Now you are apart from each other. And I assume you're back in New York City?
Yes, I am, Your Honor.
Working?
At the current time, I'm working with a web design company down in Miami, working from home.
I don't care where you're working from. You're working.
Yes.
Are you living alone or with your parents?
Currently, I'm living with my parents looking for another apartment.
Perfect. That sounds fine. And you're going to get your futon frame back. That's perfect. Goodbye. Good luck. Have a happy life.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
He knows that he owes me the money.
She seems to forget the bills that I have paid.
And he refuses to pay me.
However, we had an argument.
He had another bill to pay.
And she didn't confront me as, you know, as a normal human being would.
He just didn't have the money.
She came at me with rage.
There was always an excuse.
You can't trust some women.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Slade versus Ellis. Step forward, please.
22-year-old nanny, Ivory Slade, is suing her former employer, 24-year-old bartender Crystal Ellis, for firing her without warning and keeping her belongings. Crystal is countersuing for damage to her home.
Miss Slade, you were hired as a nanny for Miss Ellis, according to what I've read in your complaint. You worked for her for a short time. She let you go. And it is your claim that she kept some of your personal property. When did you move into Mrs. Ellis's home?
March 26th, which was a Wednesday.
And tell me about your employment arrangement with her.
The arrangement was that I would move in. I'd work Mondays, Tuesdays, and Thursdays from 6 to 2:30 in the morning. She wouldn't pay me. The arrangement was I get room and board for free in exchange for taking care of her kids from 6 till 2:30.
Okay. So you started working on March 26th, and how long did it last?
A week.
So it didn't work out. You were not satisfied, I assume.
That's right.
Okay. And she's certainly entitled to do that.
Right.
Now, what items do you say that she kept?
Well, the things that were missing was my Sony camcorder. It was a regular Kodak 35mm camera. They took, my bath towel is missing. The change out of my piggy bank is missing. My wallet
You
is
think
missing.
she took that?
And my CDs.
You think she took all that?
I'm not sure. From what
Give me
she's
a
telling
break.
me, somebody moved
Miss Slade.
it. Yeah.
Miss Ellis, who do you live in your home with?
I live there right now with my 2 children, and I have another nanny that stays in the room that she did stay in.
Okay.
And
why do you have a nanny?
Because I work nights, and
what kind of work do you do?
I'm a bartender.
Okay. What kind of house is this?
It's about 5 years old. It's a very nice house.
Whose house is it?
My grandmother, she bought it for me.
You drive a car?
Yes.
What kind of car do you drive?
I drive a 2000 Pontiac Grand Am.
Do you have any savings?
Oh, yes.
Okay. Ever been arrested?
No.
Ever stolen property?
No.
Miss Slade, she doesn't look like the kind of person who would steal your property, madam. Miss Slade, according to your answer that you filed, madam, you say that the only thing that was missing were your CDs.
Okay, can I just say one thing?
Absolutely.
When I got there, I have 85 CDs. They're in a case like this. It's a cylinder case. Of course, I noticed that was missing because when I brought it over there, it was in the box with the pillows and the sheets so that they would be protected. I noticed it was missing because it wasn't in that box. And I'm thinking, how did they package these? They probably scratched up, broken, whatever. So that's the first thing I noticed. I'm telling you now, I don't think she took it. When she told me was that she didn't tell me she moved and another lady moved. She said the people who, moving into the room, moved my things. I called her numerous times, and she never answered her phone. She has call ID.
I don't believe that your camcorder was missing.
Well, okay, I'm
Do
sorry.
you understand that?
Yes, I understand that. But it
Very good. Is this your mother?
This is my mother who bought
And
the
just a
camcorder.
second, and I want you to notice your mother's face going like this. She probably didn't realize it, that it was going like this. I don't believe, so let's get over the camcorder.
Okay.
Good.
Good. Okay. We're over the camcorder. My CDs, the camcorder is only $200. It wasn't a big thing. My CDs
I don't care what it was.
Okay.
I want you to understand that, Miss Slade.
Okay.
When I think that you're pulling the wool over my eyes or giving me a baloney story about one thing, I tend to doubt the other things that you're talking about. Do you understand?
Yes.
That's your problem. So, I say you didn't have a camcorder that was missing. And unfortunately, your mother can't keep a straight face because while that was happening, she was shaking her head up and down like this.
Okay.
We understand each other?
Yes.
Good.
Okay, so when I spoke to her, she told me other people moved my things. When I spoke to her, I said, my things are missing. I'm telling her thinking she's going to say, well, I'll speak to her, I'll see what happened or whatever. She didn't do any of that. She just started getting offended and cursing me out, saying, I didn't do, I said, I'm not, if you're telling me someone else moved my things, then I'm telling you they took my things. She keeps talking about her.
Things. When you're talking about things, what things did you tell her were missing?
Well, I told her that my CDs were missing.
Right. CDs.
Right.
And what else did you tell her was missing?
I told her, well, I don't know if you want me to say this, but I told her the camcorder was missing.
When did you tell her that the camcorder was missing?
I told her over the phone.
Did she ever tell you the camcorder was missing?
No, she never told me about a camcorder.
What did she tell you about?
First it was the CDs, then she told me some towels and a piggy bank with $10 of change in it.
Is the bank you're talking about with $10 and change the bank that you're talking about that was full of money?
It wasn't full. It's a pretty big piggy bank. It's a piggy bank about this long, this high, and it had $10 worth of change in it.
How do you know?
Because I counted it.
When?
Before I left. I know it sounds weird, but I counted it.
It sounds very weird to take time from your very busy job, taking care of your child, and how many you have?
I have 2.
2, 3 children, to unscrew the piggy bank bottom and sit there and count out $10 worth of change.
Okay.
Do you
this was my
understand that?
day off. When I left, it was my day off. I was going to take it with me to get it changed into dollars.
So why didn't you?
Because when I was running late already, I knew when my appointment, I had things to do that day. That's why I was leaving. And I know by the time I finished everything I was going to do, it wasn't going to be enough time. Then what I was initially going to do.
So you put all the change back into the piggy bank?
Right.
Once you take it out and count it, that means you put it in piles, right?
Yes.
And if you take it out and take the trouble to take the money out and put it in piles, you keep it separate. You don't throw it all back together, because that would be stupid, because that's a big waste of time. So if you take it out, you put the quarters in one place, and then you say, even if I'm not going to take it today, I'll wrap this up, and this is $6 in quarters, this is $4 in nickels, wrap it up in something, in a sock, in a handkerchief, in a paper towel, and put it away. But now you tell me that you counted out $10. First you told me money. Now it turns out that it's $10. Ask you, how do you know it's $10? Because I counted it. When did you count it? I counted it before I was leaving on my... I mean, do you understand what I'm saying to you,
Yes,
Ms. Slade?
I understand what you're saying.
What I'm saying to you is, you didn't pay attention to what I said 5 minutes ago, which is, if you lie to me once, I don't believe the rest of what you tell me.
What I'm trying to tell you is I'm not lying to you.
Miss Ellis, this is what I want you to do, madam. The same people live with you now that were living with you before?
Yes. One lady.
One lady?
Yes.
This is what I want you to do. Does that lady have anything that plays CDs?
No. She owns nothing but clothes. I had to furnish her room for her.
When she came to you, she had nothing but clothes?
Nothing but clothes. Not even a car. I transported her where she needed to go.
And do you have access to her room?
Yes, I do.
Did anybody else come back within the next few days to visit with her?
No, I don't allow anybody in my home.
Okay. Did you see, then, the next few days, a case of CDs?
No. I've never seen her CDs.
Miss Slade, I don't know where your CDs are. Can't help you. Case is dismissed. That's all.
Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step up versus Scott. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Folks, have a seat.
Mr. Horner, this sort of comes under the category of no good deed goes unpunished.
Yes, ma'am.
Is this your wife?
Yes, ma'am.
And?
My daughter-in-law.
You and your wife befriended Mr. Scott. He had been a friend of your son's?
Correct.
And at some point, you allowed him to move into your home.
Yes.
Where's your family?
My parents live in Plainville, Massachusetts. I'm currently residing with them.
Was there any reason why you weren't residing with them when you moved in with the Horners?
When I graduated from high school, I kind of made a promise to myself that I wasn't going to be one of those kids that stays living with their parents, and I had moved out. And my roommate at the time decided he wanted to move back in with his parents, and I still, you know, didn't want to move back in and be one of those kids. And they had offered for me to move in and pay rent, so I had taken them up on the offer, and I was paying $75 a week to live with them.
And you were also doing some work for them.
Yes, ma'am. I was working for Mark's wife, Susan, as a maintenance worker, and I had also worked during the Patriots games for Mark at one of his sausage stands.
That's your business?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So this is what the lawsuit is about. At some point, Mr. Scott was driving a truck of yours, and he rear-ended somebody and caused some damage to the front end of your truck.
Yes, ma'am.
You agreed with him that he would either pay the deductible, which was $1,000, or fix the truck.
Yes.
Did you do either of those two things?
No, ma'am. When this originally happened...
No, I'm just answering my question. So the answer is no.
No, ma'am.
And sometime later, you and your wife were going away for a holiday. Mr. Scott was remaining in the house, and according to your complaint, you said to him, no parties.
Correct.
You came back unexpectedly because there was a death in the family, and you found evidence of party.
Looked like he partied like a rock star.
And subsequently, you found the hot tub cover ripped.
Not only ripped, but there was food particles, cigarette butts, beer caps floating in the hot tub.
In the hot tub. Nasty.
Nasty.
And you and Mr. Scott then got into a heated discussion. He left.
Correct.
And when he left his bed and his bicycle, which he wants back, which is the subject of his counterclaim.
Yes, ma'am.
He says that you told him until you sign a promissory note to pay for the damage to the hot tub and the truck, you don't get your stuff back.
Correct.
Mr. Scott says that you told him to forget about the truck.
When the accident had originally occurred, the deductible, I was told the deductible was $500, and we had come to an agreement where I wouldn't have to pay it because the person he was supposedly selling the truck to hadn't paid anything for it, and the truck was 13 years old and had over 200,000 miles on it, and it was only about a softball-sized dent in the front bumper. I have pictures of the truck.
Okay, so according to you, he said forget about it.
Yes.
And about the damage to the hot tub?
Actually, I have my witness here, Leanne. She's a friend of mine. She was at the house Sunday when they had come home, and she can testify that there was no rip in the hot tub cover Sunday when we were done, and we were not the last people in the hot tub cover. I had come home Tuesday night with a friend of mine, and Susan and Mark's daughter-in-law and her husband, Susan's son Peter, were in the hot tub, and we believe
You mean
that.
with the sausages and the cigarette butts?
No, that stuff had been taken out and cleaned.
Mr. Scott, the Horners allowed you to live with them, and Mr. Horners, no question, asked you not to, no parties. You violated that trust by having a party.
We had actually, I had only had about 5 friends over.
Throughout the entire time that you were there, Mr. Scott?
No, but I never
Mr.
thrown a
Scott,
party
look,
there.
I want you to watch. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
I've had 20-year-olds, a whole gaggle of them. When 20-year-olds know that there's a free house, it's never just 5 people. Mr. Scott, do you understand? So if you want me to believe other things that you're telling me, and I'm sure you do, I'm going to ask you again. How many people were at the house?
There was only 5 people there.
At one time?
Yes, because I had lived in 2 previous houses before I moved in with Mark and Susan, where I'd paid the mortgage myself, and I had pretty much gotten the partying out of my system. I quit drinking. I don't drink anymore, and it's just, we were hanging out, having a good time, trying to unwind on a weekend.
Well, who do you think it was that was a pig in the group of 5 that you had then, who put food in the hot tub and cigarette butts and cans? Which one of your 5 friends?
It was my buddy Greg. He had admitted to it.
He had admitted to it before they found it?
Well, I had told him that they had found parts of a sausage in the hot tub, and there were beer caps and everything, and he said, oh, the sausage was probably from me, because he was the only one eating in the hot tub.
So I assume that if you had seen him eating in the hot tub, Mr. Scott, you would have said to him, we don't do that.
I should have.
Did you see him?
I did, and I didn't say anything to him.
Did you see him smoking in the hot tub?
I did. Everybody was smoking in the hot tub.
And throwing their cigarette butts in the hot tub?
I didn't see anybody throw a cigarette butt in the hot tub. And
Well, did you take out ashtrays for everybody?
There were ashtrays out there.
Did anybody use them? You must have been aware of that unless you had been drinking.
Yes, ma'am. People did use them. The next day, when we were going through the hot tub, we had only found parts of sausages in the filter. I didn't see any cigarette butts in the hot tub at all. And
Well,
I didn't
Mr.
see any
Scott,
beer
let me
caps.
tell you this. When you abuse a privilege, I have to assume that the people who disrespected the Horner's property also ripped their cover.
Okay.
Because otherwise, why would Mr. Horner claim, after being so nice to you, they were nice to you, weren't they?
Well, the whole relationship we had was there was a lot of verbal abuse there. Mark especially was constantly putting me down, calling me, and I'm quoting him here, he was always calling me a dump. Him and his wife were both always calling me a dump. He called me pardon my French, on numerous occasions, and he used to go around bragging to everybody that I was his, because I was helping out around the house and still paying $75 a week. And I just, at the time, I had just gone with all of this because I didn't want to cause any tension because I was living there under their roof.
Do you have children?
I do.
How many children?
I have 3 children.
How old are they?
My oldest is 23, and then I have
Where is the 23-year-old?
My 23-year-old is in the service. He's stationed at Fort Campbell in Kentucky.
And then you have a?
I have a 20-year-old.
Where is that child?
He lives with his girlfriend.
Well, that doesn't warm my heart. And what else?
And I have a 16-year-old at home.
And I have a 9-year-old.
Who lives with?
Her mother.
Who you visit?
Constantly.
And support?
Yes.
Mr. Scott says that you called him a lot of vile names. Is that true?
I definitely called him a dump.
When did you do that?
He got, I believe it was his 12th or 13th moving violation and lost his driver's license. So we particularly told him that he was a dump for that. He lost...
Just a second.
It was my 8th in 4 years.
Just a second. 8th in 4 years?
Yes, ma'am.
He's right.
Ma'am, that wasn't the only occasion.
Just a second. Well, I'm going to get the rest of them. But right now, that would have been worth at least a couple.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I want to find out if they did, in fact, call you a dump. If they had good reason to do that. 8 moving violations in 4 years fits.
And later today.
If you had to make a choice as to whether Mrs. Ramos or your 9-year-old son was telling you the truth, who would you pick?
I would pick my son.
Well, then you would pick wrong.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Mark Horner claims former tenant Jacob Scott damaged his truck and ripped his hot tub cover. Jacob is countersuing for the return of his bed and mountain bike.
I could tell that you are presenting yourself as a young man who is totally responsible and thoughtful, and you sound that way.
Thank you.
But I'm looking at these people and I'm saying to myself, this is not a couple that brought you into their home to use as a slave and berate you. So I want to find out if they did, in fact, call you a dump, if they had good reason to do that. 8 moving violations in 4 years fits.
He also had 2 while he was waiting for his suspension to come over.
And so that was worth at
So
least
they took,
2 more.
Yeah, so they took his license away.
Got it?
Yes,
ma'am. All right. Let's sort of cut to the chase here because I don't want to torture you any further.
Thank you.
You have to... You're welcome. Because I don't want to hear anything else about you because you wore a tie to court and speak well, and I'm sure you're going to try to put your life together. This is your...
This is my friend Leanne.
Not a girlfriend?
No.
You weren't eating sausages in the hot tub, Leanne. You have to give him back his bed and his bike. He's going to pick it up within 5 days.
Thank you.
I'd like to see the pictures of the truck.
Ma'am?
What?
The one thing I'm concerned about with the bed is there was an incident back when Mark's father died. He was having some trouble with his brother, and he had actually taken pictures of him urinating on his brother's bed. And I'm just worried that they had done something to my bed while it was in their possession.
I'm not going to dignify that question with an answer. Do you want your bed back or not?
Yes, ma'am.
I have pictures of the bed, Your Honor,
Just
if you
a
want to see them.
No, I don't have to see pictures of the bed. I'm looking at the front end of this truck. It looks like a little dent, sir. Does it interfere with its driving?
It does not interfere with its driving. There's a tow hook that was smashed off the bottom of it. The grill is cracked. I have an estimate here from the body shop.
Let me see the estimate. Okay. How much is a new hot tub cover, or how do you fix that?
It wasn't, it had to be replaced. Here's the
Okay.
receipt. It was
How much
400
was it?
It was $398 plus tax.
He's responsible for the tax. How much was the tax?
$420.
You living back with your folks, Mr. Scott?
Yes, ma'am.
What are you going to do with yourself?
Actually, in October, I'm going to be moving down to St. Petersburg, Florida.
To do what?
For a change, I'm going to become a construction worker down there. That's what I do up here, but just to get away from New England and a new scenery.
Where it's
really.
warm.
Exactly.
Who do you know in St. Petersburg?
A friend of mine lives down there. So, a close friend of mine, I grew up with her. So she's got an apartment down there, she's going to school down there. And
You might want to try that, Mr. Scott. School is not terrible.
I was thinking about it, but I work 7 days a week now. I love to work. Both my jobs, I landscape on the weekends, and I'm a construction worker on the weekdays.
You have your driver's license back?
No, ma'am, I do not. I actually get it back in 21 days.
Try to hold on to it this time, please.
Yes,
Mr.
ma'am.
Scott. Get your bed back and your bike in 5 days. Judgment for the plaintiff on you claim $1,420. Thank you. Good luck.
Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I was like, what kind of pig would do this to somebody who tried to help him?
Can't wait to move away from this area and away from that family.
He drinks a lot and he does a lot of drugs.
I had a few friends over, and I don't do drugs.
I'm glad she saw Jake Scott as the dump he really is.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Ramos versus Trent. Step forward.
Alice Ramos is suing neighbor D'Angelo Trent for damages to her car. Alice says D'Angelo's son, 9-year-old D'Angelo Jr., crashed into her vehicle with his bike.
Mrs. Ramos, it is your complaint that this little boy right over here was on his bicycle, fell off of his bicycle, and scratched your car. You want his father to pay for the scratch on the car. Is that right? And Mr. Trent says?
Not a chance.
When did this happen?
June 19th of 2004.
Were you at home at the time?
Yes, it was a Saturday. We had had a yard sale at my residence, and this child here had been riding his bicycle the better part of the day, up and down.
What's your name?
D'Angelo Trent Jr.
D'Angelo?
Yes.
Did you know him before?
I've seen him
June
in the
19th?
neighborhood, but I didn't know whose child he was.
But you had seen him before?
Oh, yes.
For how long?
He's lived in our neighborhood as long as I can recall.
So you know him. This isn't a child who you hadn't seen 100 times before.
Oh, definitely.
Alice Ramos says neighbor 9-year-old D'Angelo Trent Jr. damaged her car when he crashed his bicycle. D'Angelo's father, D'Angelo Sr., claims his son doesn't own a bike.
So what did you see when he fell off the bike?
He bumped into the bumper of my car, and he fell off his bicycle. At that point, I was not concerned about my car. Myself, my nephew Andrew, and my niece all ran out to the street to see if he was okay. He seemed okay, but he fell awfully hard for how quickly he jumped back up.
And subsequently, you found a scratch on your car?
When we first checked, we saw what looked like rubber scraping on the bumper of the car. And I told the little boy, before he took off, I told him, that's okay, this can be buffed out, you can go. So he jumped on his bike and he took off. More scared than hurt, I think. And 10 minutes later, he comes back with another young man on the handlebars. And he and his friend got off, and he started to show the friend what he had done. Well, unbeknownst to us, we were more concerned in the beginning about his welfare. We didn't really inspect the car. I saw the rubber scrapes on the bumper. But he's showing him another area of the car which we had not seen. And there is a scrape on the trunk.
You have a picture of it?
No, I don't.
Why don't you have a picture of it?
As I go on to the story, you'll see why.
Okay.
There was a good gash to where the whole paint and primer, everything came off right down to the metal. And it was right at the height about where the handlebars are.
So what did you do next?
I said, did you do this with your bike? And he said, he nodded his head, yes. I said, well, then you can't leave. I need to talk to you. He looked at me wide-eyed, scared, started to cry, jumped back on his bike, and took off, and left his little friend there. I asked his friend, do you know who this little boy is? I've seen him in the neighborhood many times, but I don't know who he is. And he says, yes, that's D'Angelo's son. And I said, D'Angelo, I know D'Angelo. I've known D'Angelo, the father, since he was knee-high to a grasshopper, since he grew up in the neighborhood. Mm-hmm. So I said, can you take me to his house? So he walked.
Okay, so let's move on a little bit. Ms. Ramos, did Mr. D'Angelo say that he would take care of the problem?
Absolutely.
And that's why you had it fixed and you didn't take a picture. I'm just running ahead because that sounds like what you're going to tell me.
I didn't take a picture because I had to call the police because we could not locate him, the father.
Why?
Because there was no one at the house. The house was all opened up, windows, doors, everything was opened up at the house. There was nobody there.
Okay, so when the police came, he said he would fix...
He told the police officers he would take care of it between me and him.
Okay, stop. And you had it fixed. How much did it cost you to have it fixed?
$300.
You have a receipt?
Yes, I do.
I'd like to see it, please. You weren't there.
I wasn't there.
He was there.
He was there.
How long have you known Mrs. Ramos?
22 years.
She a nice lady?
Nice lady.
Seems like a lovely lady.
Yeah.
Seems like a caring lady. Is concerned about your son?
Right.
More concerned about your son than her car?
Right.
Why don't you pay her the $300?
Because my son doesn't own a bike. He was on the pegs of that
He
bike.
was riding a bike that day. Now, Mr. Trent, you seem like an intelligent man, sir.
I am.
If you had to make a choice as to whether Mrs. Ramos or your 9-year-old son was telling you the truth, who would you pick? Who would you pick, sir? I haven't even spoken to him. I know who I would pick.
I know the child that was riding the bike, and I know he's nowhere in court.
Listen
so I
to
don't
me,
know why my
sir.
son's here.
You weren't there. Mrs. Ramos, who you've known for 22 years,
Right.
says that your son was the one who was riding the bike. You weren't home. So I'm going to go back to my original question. If you had to make a choice as to whether your 9-year-old son, D'Angelo, was telling the truth or Mrs. Ramos was telling the truth, who would you pick?
I would pick my son, of course.
Well, then you would pick wrong. Your son, and you weren't there, was riding the bike. Look at me, D'Angelo. Isn't that right?
No.
Baloney.
Judge, when you ask her if there were two people there was a person riding and he was on the pegs.
No.
Please ask her.
She said he was riding the bike. Is that what you told me?
That's right.
Was there 2 children there?
No. When the incident happened, there was only one child on the bike.
When he
D'Angelo
came
Jr.
back, she said there were 2 people. He was riding and there was another child on the handlebars. And then when she went out there and confronted them, he got scared and left the other kid there. And if he's not telling you that story,
The other child
I
told me
take
the
him out to
story.
the barn. Judgment to the plaintiff in the amount of $300. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step. Yeah, this is case number 429 on the calendar in the matter of Cognac versus Hughes Hield. Parties have been sworn in. Judge, you may be seated. Gentlemen, have a seat, please.
You have a child.
Yes, I do, Your Honor.
How old is that child?
He's 7.
And who's the child's father? Were you married to his father?
Yes, I was.
For how long?
From June 2nd of 96 to June 2nd of 2000.
And it is my understanding that your son lives with his father.
Currently, yes, Your Honor.
And you have visitation.
Yes, I do, Your Honor.
And that visitation was ordered supervised by the court.
By the court, yes.
I assume that that was after a trial or after a hearing that the court ordered supervised visitation.
It was based on an ex parte, including my son's court-appointed attorney, in regards to that my son had told a psychologist that he was injured while he was with me, in which he was not.
Well, whatever. I'm not getting into the whys. I'm just indicating that that's what this part of this lawsuit is about, because the court ordered supervised visitation, and the court ordered you to pay the supervisor, the person who was to supervise that visitation, and the incident in question involved Miss Konia, who was the supervisor of a visitation period that you were having with your son. And according to your complaint, Miss Konia, you charge a fee for supervised visitation. You must be on a court list of supervisors. And on a particular day, when you were supervising the visit, you terminated the visit. It is your claim for cause because of Miss Hield's inappropriate actions. And she stopped payment on the check that she had given you for the supervised visitation. And you want that money plus your bounce check fee.
That's correct.
The defendant says that it was you who acted inappropriately. She had a basis to stop payment on the check, and she is counterclaiming for your inappropriate behavior and the emotional distress that that caused her. Now, when did you begin to do the supervised visitation with James and his mother?
This was the first visit that I had done myself. My partner here, Alan, had done 2 visits prior.
Tell me what happened.
prior to any visits occurring, I had done what's required by law called an orientation intake session. I had done that separately with each party. At that time, each party was advised of what the requirements and the rules were of the supervised visitation. So I have the orientation rules and guidelines contract, which was signed by the defendant. I think it was on October 3rd of 2004. And if you want to refer in specific to policies number 14, where it says disparaging remarks and intentional disrespect.
I can read.
Sorry. Sorry.
The policy says that the person who is being supervised, the adult person, shall not, either verbally or non-verbally, make any disparaging remarks against any adult party, which clearly, in plain English, says that Ms. Heald is not to make any disparaging remarks about the child's father to the child or within earshot of the child. All right, so tell me what happened on the 29th.
So anyway, so I had done the orientation. We had done 2 visits. Both the visits prior to had been done with Alan, and I had done a visit on October 29th. We agreed to meet at Balboa Park. That was the meeting place. The visit ended up moving to Seaport Village. The defendant decided to take the child to a pizza place for dinner. The child's behavior was becoming increasingly more problematic.
How?
And I noticed when we were at Balboa Park, there was like a channel of water, kind of like a fountain, but it was still water. And the child repeatedly put his feet into this water. I mean, it was nighttime, and she actually told him to stop, but the child didn't listen.
Okay, so he was misbehaving. He was 7 years old.
Yeah, but she...
Okay, well, let's get to the pizza parlor, because right now you haven't canceled the visit, you haven't stopped the visit, you're at the pizza parlor.
Yes, when we were in the pizza place, he had flattened himself on the floor. He was upset about not wanting... He wanted to have a particular kind of soda, and she didn't want to get it for him. At that point, I don't like to intervene in the visit.
So he threw a tantrum, and he got on the floor.
He threw a tantrum. They sat down, and I don't know, she went up to the counter for a second. He took a Beanie Baby and he threw it at her. Once again, examples of the child's behavior being out of control.
What else?
Then they sat down. She began to, this is where things started to go downhill. She began to disparage the father. She began to attribute the child's behavior.
What you're doing is editorializing. I'd like you to give me
I will tell you exactly what she said. Okay, I have a termination memorandum, and she began to say, the behavior that you're learning from, and I'm not going to say their names, you're learning that from them, and I won't have that. You're upset because the stepmother showed up with you today. I said, if you continue, the visit will be terminated. She just continued. She said, I would appreciate it if the stepmother wouldn't show up. It's of grave concern to me because she's not allowed to be here, is what she said.
She said to you, or she said to the child?
She directed that to me. Okay?
I assume she directed that to you, not to the child.
So after repeated attempts for me to change the subject, she didn't do it. So I terminated the visit. I got on the phone and I called the custodial parent, the father, to come pick up the child. And I asked her also to leave the restaurant, and she refused to leave. Okay? I have never had to do this before, but I ended up having to call local law enforcement, which I have the right to do by law.
Okay.
And when this was happening, she made a comment to me. She said that I'm not paying for this visit. I want my money back, is what she said.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
You're telling me that in my career, which spanned 30,000 cases, that yours was unique? Perhaps that's true. I doubt it.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Child visitation monitor Monica Konya says a former client stopped payment on her fee. Julie Hughes Heald claims Monica overstepped her bounds when she terminated her visit with her son.
Will you step up, please, sir? Tell me your name.
My name's Alan Glick.
Mr. Glick, this is your partner?
Yes.
How many supervised visits did you conduct for James and the defendant?
2.
Were they eventful or uneventful?
They were eventful for me in that I noticed I had a document above and beyond the normal form I fill out, what I observed in lack of parenting skills.
And when did you fill out those forms?
These are filled out as I'm sitting there in the visit.
May I see them, please?
Yes. These are notes I take. There's some abbreviations there I use. And this is just so whatever happens, I don't have to rely on my memory. I have the notes to rely on.
Okay, not so terrible. All in all, not so terrible.
Well, nothing specific, just...
Yeah, nothing specific.
Just
Nothing
lack
specific.
of ability to set boundaries and limits.
Okay. Well, lack of ability to set controls and limits is an interesting, rather amorphous statement. You would agree with that, sir? You would agree with the fact that if a biological parent, because of their own problems, and it's clear that Miss Heald has her own problems, which is the only reason why a court sets supervised visitation for a parent. So you would agree that if you're only seeing your child for 3 hours once a week or 3 hours twice a week, you don't like to set controls, you don't like to set boundaries, you tend to let the child do whatever they want to do, which is not necessarily good parenting, but understandable within the context of a 3-hour visitation. So now I have the gist of what happened from your perspective. Now I come to you. I want to see the order of visitation and the judge's decision in order, formulating that order of visitation.
Okay, Your Honor, it's right here.
And I'd like to see the report from the child's lawyer.
That's the report from the child's lawyer. He's court appointed per my request.
This isn't the order setting supervised visitation.
Actually, there's not supervised visitations anymore. The only reason why it was a supervised visitation is because my 7-year-old son said...
Listen to me. I can read. This says that the doctor recommends that if supervised visitation with the mother is to be lifted, that the visits with the mother be of short durations, 2 or 3 hours a visit. And then it goes on to say that the mother should, in addition, be engaged in supportive psychotherapy. What I want is the order where the judge ordered supervised visits, not your request for lifting it. Do you have that?
That was the order that was given for the last current standing order.
When?
When the most recent court date stating that there is no longer supervised visitations.
You're not following me. I mean, is this a passive-aggressive discussion that we're having? In what year was supervised visitation entered?
2004, approximately in October.
So at some point there was an order that said you don't have overnights, you don't have unsupervised visits, you have supervised visits. And what you're telling me is you do not have a copy of any of the reports that were used for the judge.
That order was only based on that my son was seen by a psychologist and he was coerced into saying that he was injured while with me and he wasn't.
Listen to me.
So they lifted the order. That's the only reason why they had it, Your Honor.
Listen to me, madam.
Yes.
I don't believe you.
I'm sorry you don't, but I'm stating the truth.
I don't believe you. If you had the order, I would perhaps believe you.
That's the order
but
that
if what
Randy
you're telling
asked
me
me
is
to
that the
bring.
judge based their order on the statement of a child that was false.
Yes,
I don't
Your
buy
Honor.
that.
Well, it's true.
No, don't buy that. Now, Dr. That's the child's psychiatrist or psychologist?
Correct, Your Honor.
The observation of Dr. this visitation supervisor, the undersigned, and the prior psychologist who worked with the mother and the minor child routinely observed the mother's frustration with controlling and redirecting the minor child's behavior, as well as the mother's penchant for involving the child in court and adult issues. The first therapist appointed by the court to assist the mother in developing a more appropriate relationship with Jimmy and enhancing her parenting skills ultimately gave up in frustration, indicating he could not make any progress with the mother. So this is not an issue of short duration. This is a problem that's been going on for a long time, madam.
Your Honor, I originally had 93% custody of my son.
Well, something that you're doing,
Miss
Hill, something that you're doing, if you originally had 93% custody of your child, and if you don't have a mental illness, and I'm not sure whether you do or you don't. So I don't know whether you do or you don't. But if I were a parent who had 97% custody, and then it was cut down to 37% custody, and then it was cut down to visitation, and then it was cut down to supervised visitation, I would say to myself, wake up. Maybe something I'm doing is not right. Instead of saying everybody else has a problem. My son has a problem because he lies. This visitation supervisor has a problem because he lies. The child psychologist has a problem. My son's lawyer has a problem. I might say to myself, maybe my behavior is inappropriate because I started out being the custodial parent, and all of a sudden I can see my son 3 hours a week with a stranger that I have to pay. So I would say that to me would be a wake-up call.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Child Visitation Monitor Monica Konya says a former client stopped payment on her fee. Julie Hughes Heald claims Monica overstepped her bounds when she terminated her visit with her son.
Go ahead.
My concern is that the San Diego court system has put my son and I through the judicial process of I present the truth that my former husband and his current wife, who was his secretary originally, in the aspect of manipulating and controlling, and basically when she has 2 older teenagers, that my son was coming back with behaviors as in acting like a 17-year-old or 18-year-old that weren't well brought up. So my son was also stating comments about his dad.
You're not getting it. Madam, I sat in the family court for a quarter of a century.
I
ran the system there, and I do not remember a case where a mother had custody of a child or children, and that was reduced to supervised visitation unless there was a serious problem. And if you're telling me that in my career, which spanned 30,000 cases, that yours was unique, perhaps that's true. I doubt it. Because I'm hearing what you're saying, and what you're saying is exactly what I heard from parent after parent who said, I'm telling the truth, they're all off base. And all I'm saying to you is I'm giving you real good advice. Unless you are mentally ill, I would start examining myself, my own behavior, in order to ensure that I correct that behavior or modify it so that you can again become a meaningful part of your son's life. And stop resenting his father, who married a secretary, and stop resenting 2 teenage boys with whom your 7-year-old son probably has a reasonable relationship, but maybe learning things that are a little beyond his years. You better get on with it. Now, you want to tell me why you stopped payment on this check?
Yes. To be
just get to it.
To be quite honest, I have no resentment to my former husband because he was
Would you get
domestically
to it? Because I'm past all
and
that.
I'm thankful I'm not married to him.
I'm
just to let you
past
know.
all that.
Okay,
Get
the
to
stop
why you
payment on the check was based on all I wanted to do was see my son. I love my son dearly, and due to the fact that he told his psychologist, because he was coerced by my former husband and his wife.
Now listen to me. That's not my question to you, and you're still not getting it. You see, you have this fixed thing. You want somebody to hear you. I'm not hearing you. I'm not hearing you. I'm hearing that you have a problem sticking to a judicial question, which at this point is, why did you stop payment on the check?
Yes, Your Honor. I stopped payment on the check because she violated her own contract.
How? That's what I want to hear.
She violated her own contract because she allowed Jim to bring his current wife there with the baby. She showed up a half hour late to the drop-off and pickup place. In the regards to the exchange, she originally had the exchanges with Alan Glitch 2 times prior from 1 to 4 on Sundays, in which in the supervised agreement was never to be a person that's an agent of hers, which is ethically, I believe, unethical because it's her husband.
I only have one question for you, madam.
Yes, Your Honor.
Did you, in fact, say in sum and substance that kind of behavior is unacceptable to me? You may learn that at home with your father and stepmother, but that behavior is not acceptable here.
No, Your Honor,
What did you say? What did you say?
Basically, my son never threw a Beanie Baby at me.
I didn't ask you that. I said, what did you say to him?
About the behavior? I said, I have a Gatorade. When we went to the...
What did you say to him?
When he wanted a soda, I stated, Jimmy, I have Gatorade for you. I was handling it appropriately. Monica started freaking out, saying that, his dad said he couldn't have a soda. She started saying she was canceling the visitation, that I wasn't his parent or mother, so she was saying despairing remarks about me.
So what you're saying is you never said anything about
I never said anything despairing. I'm not a rude person.
Well, that's been a long-term problem, madam.
Well, that's
according to this. That's according to this that you gave me. It's been a long-term problem. What you're saying is that you never said anything to James about his father and or his stepmother. Nothing during the visit. Is that what you're saying?
No, I did
I don't
not.
believe you.
I was just wanting to see my son and spend time with him due to the circumstances.
I don't believe you. I don't think
Monica stated I wasn't my son's mother. She called the police. I said I had to call my son's court-appointed attorney to find out that I'd only met this lady once based on a list. And she's demanding that I leave and abandon my son in a restaurant, screaming out that I'm not his mother.
Madam! You're not abandoning him. You're leaving him with somebody that the court has indicated is an appropriate supervisor. You can't cancel her check.
In which
you can't cancel her check.
She was screaming at me.
You cannot cancel her check. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $130, which is the amount of the check plus the canceled check fee. And you have a counterclaim for $2,500. That counterclaim is dismissed. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out. Allen versus K.V. Harris.
Thank you.
Quite welcome, Judge. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated. Ma'am, have a seat, please.
Miss Allen, you had a brother who recently passed away, rather young, I assume. He had diabetes and he went into a diabetic coma. The defendants were friends of his, and according to your complaint, they took a television set at your request when they were cleaning out his apartment. You said that you wanted $800 for the television set. They say that they were good friends, they did an awful lot of things for your brother, and that they can't believe that you are actually suing them for this $800 for this television set. When were you notified that your brother was hospitalized?
I was in the Caribbean at the time when he was hospitalized.
You were on vacation?
Right, with my son. I didn't find out when he was in a coma until July 3rd when he was.
When did he go to the hospital?
The prior Thursday before that, July 3rd, is when I found him in the diabetic coma. 2 or 3 days before she even knew her brother was in a coma.
How many siblings are there?
Well, there was 4, and now there's 3.
Where are your parents?
My mom passed away last year, and I haven't seen my dad really for 23 years. He showed up for my brother's memorial, and that was it.
How old was your brother?
He was 30.
Was he ever married?
No.
Did he have any children?
No, he didn't.
Did he leave a will?
No, he didn't.
Tell me, Miss Allen, how it came about that the defendants got possession of this television set.
Gaetano had stated to me that
Who's Gaetano?
Right here, Your Honor.
Gaetano said that he wanted...
He had talked to my brother Billy on the 25th of June. That was a Friday, the day that I left for the Caribbean. Gaetano had stated that my brother wanted me to have the TV if anything were to happen to him.
Is that what you told her?
Yes, it was.
He had also some really high powered gas RC cars, and he said that Gaetano was to have those.
I don't know what an RC car is.
Remote control gas-powered cars.
Oh, okay. Well,
I'm just telling
you. Thank you. Okay, and according to you, her brother had said that he wanted his sister, this sister, to have the TV. Now, that's not necessarily binding, but it's something that he said to you.
Right. That is correct.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, so when we sat and we were clearing out Billy's apartment, we had a 32-inch TV that Billy had given to me. I told her that Billy wanted her to have the big screen. Her reaction was, I don't want the big screen. It doesn't fit in my apartment. So I said, why don't you take the 32-inch and we'll take the big screen. She agreed. No money was ever talked about, no money was ever included.
Okay. Did you take a 32-inch television from your brother's house?
I took it from my son.
But it was your television?
Correct. Billy had owed me money because we were the ones who took him to the hospital and paid for his insulin. We were the ones that always got him to the hospital. Matter of fact, the plaintiff was the one who called us, said, my brother's not feeling well. Can you go over there and check on him and get him to the hospital?
Okay, well, fine.
I have a tape saying that they were going to pay for the TV and that they thought it was too much money, so they decided that they weren't going to pay for it.
Okay, I'd like to hear that tape.
Hey, Jen, this is Allison. We just got your message. We actually talked about it and decided that we're not going to pay you for the TV because $800 is too much. We told you that we would pay you $5 or $6, I think it was, at the beginning, and you said no, that you wanted $8. And well, you know, we've been friends with Billy forever. We took care of him when he was sick. We did everything for him. You guys weren't there for him. We were there for him. And by the way, we'd rather give Diane and Roger the money for the TV than you because you're not dealing with any of this fairly. So if you have any questions, just give us a call back. Bye.
Well, that tape clearly indicates that you had an intention to pay for the television.
This is how the conversation took place. She calls us after she gave us the TV. She says, well, you know what, we found somebody that will buy the TV for $1,200. But since you were friends, we'll give it to you for $800. So this shocked us. We're like, wait a minute, I thought it was an even exchange. You know, I thought we were done. So we tried to negotiate with her and say, you know what, $800's just too much. Plus the TV was only originally worth around $1,300. No, we're not paying $800. So we tried to negotiate and lower the price. How far did the plaintiff go down? $750. Billy's family abandoned him. We were his family. We took him to the hospital. I called his family and told them that Billy's not doing well. He needs somebody to check on him every day. He's not going to make it a month if somebody does not. Okay? So anyways, she goes off to the Caribbean on the cruise. I go to check on him while she's out dancing in the Caribbean to see how he's doing. Okay? He's in a diabetic coma, panting, eyes glazed over.
Just a second.
She's dancing.
How sick was your brother when you left?
He was getting better. I talked to the hospital when he was released. They said he was fine. They sent him home with my other brother. My other brother took him home, and he was doing better. I talked to him that Friday.
Who's this?
This is my sister.
How far did she live from your brother?
Approximately 140 miles.
Who lives closest?
I live right downstairs below him.
When was he released from the hospital?
He was released the prior week, probably around June 20th.
Can I add how he...
No.
Okay.
Now, Miss Allen, what provisions did you make for somebody to check in on your brother every day while you were on vacation?
My brother Roger was supposed to check on him, and he actually said he went up there on July.
Where does your brother Roger live?
He lives in the same apartment building as well.
Okay. So your brother Roger was supposed to check on him every day?
Right.
But clearly did not.
He said he went up there and he thought he heard my brother like shuffle, like make a moaning sound, like go away type thing on probably, it was June 30th. He went up there and my brother was just like making a noise just to like go away. He doesn't want anybody visiting him. So he didn't go any further from that.
Wait a minute, can I add something?
Yeah, sure.
Her brother did go up there only because he called Gaetano to see what Gaetano was up to for the night, and we asked about Billy. We said, have you checked on your brother today? And he said, I haven't been over there in 2 or 3 days. You know, and we both work full time. And I said, well, get over there and check on him. You live right downstairs from him. So Roger hung up the phone with us, went up to Billy's, tapped on the window, heard him breathing, which he was actually already in the coma, calls us back, says, oh, I heard him breathing, he's fine. So we just assumed, well, we'll go check on him in the morning before work. He goes over there on his way to work the next day, finds Billy laying in his bed in a diabetic coma. Of course, he's breathing really deep, and you can hear that, but that's what he did. Nobody had checked on him.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Your useless brother who went down and checked and said, he sounds like he's breathing, he must be okay, is just that useless.
And later today,
she just gets really drunk and starts freaking out, screaming.
Just tell me what happened to the door.
She just fell through the door. She just fell through it.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Janice Allen says former friends Allison Cavey and Gaetano Harris owe for the return of her late brother's TV. The couple says they were like family to Janice's brother.
Now, it seems to me, Miss Allen, that the defendants were not related to your brother by blood, but took better care of him than his own family.
I was with my brother almost every day when I was there.
Did you take him to his doctor's appointments?
He didn't have any doctor's appointments.
We took him to some.
She actually called us one time, Your Honor, when Billy wasn't feeling well and said, can you check on Billy? I think he needs to go to the hospital.
No, I didn't ask you to check on him.
You did.
Just a second.
I simply...
Listen to me. Shh. Listen to me. Did you call them and ask them to empty out his apartment?
No, I didn't.
They asked for help.
Did you call and ask for help?
I asked for help for the television. That was it. And they didn't help with anything else.
Listen to me, Miss Allen. It sounds to me as if you're making a lot of excuses for people who were very kind to your brother while he was alive. Your useless brother who went down and checked and said, he sounds like he's breathing, he must be okay, is just that useless. You, within a week of your brother being released from the hospital, took your son on vacation to the Caribbean.
I called them, Your Honor, because...
Just a minute, you called them for what?
Because I could not get my brother down the stairs to take him to the hospital.
So you called to help?
I called for help. Exactly.
Good.
I'm a single
Good.
mom.
So what are you doing here talking about a television that you have no legal... Hey, you have no legal right to sue for this television. And I would strongly suggest to you that since your brother relied on strangers to take care of him and fill in when his blood family could not, you think twice about bothering courts with this kind of lawsuit. Your lawsuit's dismissed, that's all.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Thank you. This is my best friend.
I was there every day.
I'm going to remember the last birthday I spent with him.
I went and talked to him and everything, every single day.
How he smiled and he had a good time and we sang karaoke. That's what I'm going to remember.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Rogers versus Munyon. Step forward, please.
19-year-old student Brittany Rogers is suing her former roommate, 21-year-old student Rachel Munyon, for unpaid rent, household costs, and damages to the apartment. Brittany says during a drunken episode, Rachel fell through their screen door.
Miss Rogers, you and the defendant were roommates. You claim she owes you for first month's rent on the apartment, which she never paid. She owes you her half of some household items that you purchased when you moved into the apartment, and that she caused some damage to the apartment in a temper tantrum, and you want her to pay for that too because you had that deducted from security.
That's correct.
Miss Munyon says she was totally paid up in her rent. She doesn't owe you a dime. You used a stolen credit card to pay for the household items, and that she never caused any damage to the apartment.
Yes.
Okay. When did you move in together?
We moved in halfway through June of 2003, and I paid the first months of the rent. It was a partial month of $777.
Okay. First month's rent, $777. So?
I paid $277 of that, and she paid $500 of that.
How did you pay the $277?
We wanted to get an apartment together, and her parents wouldn't sign, so my dad signed the lease so we could move in. And my dad told her that if he signed the lease, that she would pay the $500 and that I would pay the rest of the $277.
Don't speak.
That I would pay the rest of the $277. So
your
she
father,
wanted to get an
I'm
apartment really
speaking.
bad.
So your father, in effect, took a fee for co-signing.
Yeah, they made an agreement.
Oh. Step up, sir. You're the father. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you take a fee for co-signing for this apartment?
I didn't take a fee to co-sign for the apartment. What I did was we had a verbal agreement that if I co-signed for the apartment, Brittany would be responsible for the deposit on the apartment.
For the deposit? Shut up! Sorry. If you co-signed, that she'd be responsible for the security deposit. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes, Your Honor.
How much was the security deposit?
$750.
Who paid that?
I did.
Good. Well, that was your agreement, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Good. Well, your daughter got the story a little bit confused. Thank you very much. You may be seated now.
Okay.
Listen to me. Your father's agreement had nothing to do with paying $500 and you paying $277. Your father said that he would co-sign for the apartment. The condition of his co-signing for the apartment would be that the plaintiff put down the security deposit. Period. So you were confused.
Okay.
Let's go to next. Household goods. Did you use a stolen credit card to purchase the household
No,
goods?
I have my bank statements right here showing the places.
Well, tell me what you know about the stolen credit card, my dear, because she didn't make this up out of nowhere, I don't think.
There was a stolen credit card, and I did purchase items on a stolen credit card, which I was criminally prosecuted for, and I served my 6 months probation and did my community service for that.
Who'd you steal the credit card from?
A girl that I went to high school with. It was a back and forth thing. She stole money from me. I stole that from her. It was between me and her.
Wonderful. Good.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Every Tuesday, he was supposed to pay me $50.
That sound familiar, sir?
Yes.
Good. That's all you had to say. Yes, sounds right.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Brittany Rogers says ex-roommate Rachel Munyon owes for rent, unpaid household costs, and damages to their apartment. Brittany says Rachel has a drinking problem.
All right, let's go to the damage to the home.
Rachel has a big drinking problem. At first, when we moved in together, I was under the impression that she had kind of cleaned up her act. She told me this total story about her boyfriend and all this.
Just give me a break. Would you just tell me what she damaged?
So basically, she got really drunk and she fell through the screen door and broke it in our apartment complex.
Well, tell me exactly what happened.
We just had some friends over. We'd all been kind of drinking, and Rachel, I mean, obviously she's kind of a small person. She can't take that much, and she just gets really drunk and starts freaking out, screaming.
Just tell me what happened to the door.
She just fell through the door. She just fell through it. I mean,
did you hurt yourself?
No, I didn't fall through the door.
And you say you didn't fall through the door?
The screen door was only off the track, and there was like a little rip at the top.
Well, how'd that happen?
Just from people going in and out of it. I mean, we're both young. We both had people over there at the time.
What else?
And also, when she was really drunk, I actually had traffic school the next morning, and she was.
What'd you have traffic school for?
I was going 46 in a 35 zone, and she was, drunk again, coming in my room, bugging me. I told her to get out. She comes and flings my door open and pushed it against the wall so hard that the door stopper went through the door and put a hole in it.
So did you fix it?
The landlord fixed it and charged me for it.
Let me see. Why didn't you fix it?
I didn't really know how.
How to do it? You get a little thing in a tube, you put it in the wall, you go like this, and you fix it.
Why? The landlord fixed it.
We finished second bedroom door, stained with unknown white substance. What was that?
That was from a shoe rack that she had over the door that left the paint.
You remember that?
Yeah.
Who lost their pool key?
She lost the pool key. There were 2 pool keys. We had a pool key that didn't work.
We only received one.
And she called the landlord for another one, and he sent us another one. And he wanted me to return both of them at the end, but she did something with the first one.
You have a pool key? You don't know where it is?
No.
Okay. As far as the items that you purchased for the house, and you say that she owes you for half, I'm not going to be able to distinguish what you purchased with a stolen credit card.
It was not with a stolen credit card. It's with this right here.
Sure, let me take a look at it.
They're all highlighted for you. We went together, and she agreed with me together that as soon as we got the computer in the house, that she was going to type up an agreement. And, oh, Brittany, I promise I'm going to get a job. No, she just got drunk and went out and...
I had a job the whole time I lived at the
She did not have a job at all when she was there.
I had a
She
job
stayed
the
at
whole
home and
time.
watched TV, and that's why her father put the cable in his name, because I was working 2 jobs and going to school, and I didn't have time to watch cable.
I
And
had
she
a
just
job
wanted to
the
sit
whole
at home
time that we
and watch
lived there.
TV all day and do nothing.
Did you go with her to Safeway stores on June the 9th where she purchased stuff in the amount of $626?
The thing is that she told me that she was going to use the credit card that her aunt gave us to get the initial things that we needed for the apartment, and then we could pay her aunt back in $50 increments. And then when we got to Safeway, the
That's
credit
not
card
true.
was declined. And the reason it was declined is because the card that Brittany stole was like a Discover or something that Safeway didn't accept. And I told Brittany, you know I don't have the money right now because I just moved down here, I just got a job, so I would prefer if we go to another store where they do take Discover, American Express, or whatever it was. And she said, no, Rachel, don't worry about it. And I was like, okay. So my dad would bring me over food, and I would just eat the food that my dad brought.
Oh, no. Listen to me. Listen to what you just said.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
You just said that she had a stolen credit card that you knew about.
No, I didn't know about it.
That you knew it was somebody else's credit card, but they didn't take that credit card at one store that you went to, so you were going to go to a different store. You didn't go to a different store. You stayed at this store, and the amount of $626 wasn't an amount that was purchased for the two of you, and you agreed to pay her back.
No, I did not agree to pay her back for those groceries. I agreed to pay her aunt back in $50 increments.
Listen to me. You agreed that you would be responsible for half that bill, only you said you were going to give it back to her aunt. Well, she didn't use her aunt's card. She used her card. So explain to me, what's the difference?
I told her that I didn't want to because I didn't have half of that $300.
You just told me. Listen to me. You just told me you didn't have it then, whether it was her money or her aunt's money. And you said you would agree to give her aunt back $50 installment payments.
Correct. But Brittany wanted the $300 up front.
No, I let her pay me increments. I actually arranged it with her father, and her father said that, oh, you know, Brittany, don't worry. You know, I know Rachel, and, you know, if she doesn't take care of stuff, I will. He paid me one $50 money order.
Does that sound familiar, sir?
Yes.
Good. That's all? That's all you had to say.
And
yes, sounds right.
And then the next week, Billy, where's my money? Oh, I don't have the money this week. Okay, that's fine. Call him next week. Billy, where's my money? Oh, I don't have the money this next week. So.
I gotcha. You're right. 773, judgment for the plaintiff. That's all. Step out.
Parties are excused.
Các em thân mến, để tiếp tục ôn tập về chủ đề dãy số và đặc biệt là dãy số cách đều, thì hôm nay cô cho chúng mình sẽ cùng giải quyết một bài toán cũng khá là thú vị. Đấy là bài toán là chúng ta sẽ tìm hiểu xem là số 2024 có thuộc dãy số ở trên này hay không, và nó là số hàng thứ bao nhiêu của dãy đó nếu như nó thuộc dãy đó. Ở đây chúng ta sẽ đánh giá một chút về cái dãy số đã cho, dãy số 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 cho đến chấm. Trên này các em thấy rằng đặc điểm của những số hàng ở trên này đấy là những số chẵn từ 2 trở đi, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 3, 20, 25, 20, 24 gì đó. Và đấy là số dãy số cách đều, và khoảng cách ở đấy sẽ là khoảng cách của dãy số này chính là 2 đơn vị. Đúng ạ. Và số 2024 là số chẵn. Vậy thì nó sẽ là có thuộc dãy. Vậy thì số 2024 sẽ là thuộc số hàng bao nhiêu, thì chúng ta sẽ tính số hàng của cái dãy từ 2 đến 2024, đúng không nào? Chúng ta sẽ có một công thức về tính số hàng của dãy. Đúng ạ. Số hàng của dãy thì chúng ta sẽ bằng số lớn nhất, chúng ta trừ đi số bé nhất, chia cho khoảng cách. Và cộng thêm 1. Đây là số hàng. Vậy thì để tìm ra 2024 là số bao nhiêu, chúng ta sẽ thay số vào đây để chúng ta biết được. Ở đây sẽ là 1024 trừ 2. Chúng ta chia cho khoảng cách là 2 và cộng thêm 1. Ở đây sẽ bằng 1012. Các em biết vì sao cô tính nhánh, bởi vì là cái cộng 1 này, cộng 1 chính là cái 2 chia cho 2 là trừ 1 cộng 1 là hết. Vậy thì chúng ta chỉ cần kết quả là 2024 chia cho 2 là bằng 4012. Đối với những bài toán có khoảng cách thì nó nhìn rất là đơn giản như thế. Và ở đây chúng ta thấy rằng số hàng ở đây là 1012. Vậy số 2024 là số hàng thứ 1012 của dãy. Đúng không ạ? Các em biết là để mà làm được bài toán này thì chúng ta phải nắm chắc cái bản chất quy luật của dãy số. Cái thứ hai nữa là chúng ta cần phải nắm rõ được cái biểu thức, công thức để tính bài toán về dãy số như thế này. Từ một công thức tổng quát như thế này chúng ta phải đưa ra có thể tìm được số lớn nhất này, tìm số bé nhất này, tìm khoảng cách hoặc là tìm số hàng nhất.